Hello.
Hello.
You home?
Yeah,
Good.
watching the Women Hawks on TV with superstar Caitlin Clark.
Basketball?
Yeah,
Uh, is that an Iowa team?
yes, it's the Women Hawkeyes. She is the leading scorer in the country and the leading assist maker.
Wow.
And we went to we have season tickets, so we went to a game on Friday, I guess it was. No, Tuesday, where she made the buzzer beater to from more than 30 feet away to win. So it's great fun. It's great fun.
That's yeah. Boy,
So
seems to me.
your liberal education has been sorely neglected here in your old age. You need to pay attention to this.
It's genetic. When I played Little League and played every sport I could, I could never watch sports. My
Ah,
friends were watching and memorizing and doing baseball cards, and I just never did it. I still can't. I
okay.
can't even watch. I used to box and play karate. I can't even watch that. Swimming, gymnastics,
Yeah.
because they're so pretty.
Yeah. Well, that's the way this team plays. This team plays pretty.
That's great.
So
Well, we haven't seen Howard in a while. I hope your camera works someday, Howard.
he's connecting.
Yep. He may be somewhere on the road trying to use a phone, and there's Dennis.
Thank you for taking the initiative to try to do this.
Yeah, you bet. It's an honor. You know, we all feel the same way, don't we?
Yeah.
Anything we can do.
Sit Shiva.
Yeah. I I used to call people with meatball, which,
Hmm.
as you know, imparts cosmic awareness for the next year. I used to call Ben Slotzik and say matzo ball.
I haven't heard, seen much from Ben in this exchange for the last few days.
Yeah, I've been watching him with fascination because he was so central to everything. In fact, this whole thing, man,
Yeah.
as I always say, I work for Slotsnik, and and he has backed away from the Yale alumni stuff because he really overdid it.
Okay.
And now he's got a grandchild and all that kind of shit. Life is intruding. Hi, Dave. Malcolm, welcome.
Unmute.
Yeah, I've been called worse than that in my time.
Yeah, not by me
Ready?
though. You're great.
Mhm.
All right. We have a quorum of doctors.
A minion.
Oh my God, that's
It's a
now,
paradox.
geez, it's three. Get out of here, Everett. That's three doctors.
No longer a paradox.
And we're not counting PhDs, Dave.
Yeah. So, Dave, did you ever meet Bryan?
Did I ever meet? No, not in person.
Just
Okay.
No,
through.
and I was going to comment on that too. Well, I can comment on that right now.
Yeah.
Is that it's really an interesting feature of the times we live in which we live, be grammatically correct. Um, that I felt I knew Bryan, even though I never met him in person,
Hmm.
and uh, and I felt really sad, obviously, when I heard about his passing, and
Hmm.
and so it's interesting. It was interesting to me to think that, we had this electronic connection and, we've had some conversation. We had some conversations here and then we had some separate email conversations. I have his book.
Hmm.
I was going to send it to him to autograph. Boy, I should have done that. Um, and so I thought it's really interesting comment on how we live today that we had a relationship which was not in person, but still felt
Mhm.
real. So I don't know. To me, that was interesting and significant, and I feel like I lost a friend. I was really sad. So seemed like a great guy. And then I seen the pictures that you guys have posted from back when we were kids, and looks like you guys had pretty good times. So that was good. That was good.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
like that.
yeah. 15-yard penalty for having too much fun. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Anyway, we're so sorry that he's not, that he's gone. I mean, I just got to know
Look,
him, and now he's gone. So
yeah.
that's the way it goes, I guess.
So
Very
Well,
I've thought about this. Bryan is the first of our cohort to die on time. Pete
yeah.
Steele died 30 years ago, and it was such an outlier. Sorry to see him go, but it didn't feel real. This one felt real.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And he
Well,
will be the
Krauser
first, but
died
he will
15.
not be the last.
Yeah, Krauser died 15 years ago,
Well,
but
but
we also
Krauser drank
knew.
himself to death.
Yeah,
Dave's point strikes me too. The electronic connection is a gift.
Hmm.
yeah. It's interesting, a little weird and wonderful and all that. I mean, it just struck me that I never met the guy, never met him in person. But with Merrill, when we met at your house for the first time, Jim,
Mhm.
and she, we had known each other and talked to each other and corresponded and everything. And she met me and she said, "Oh, you're a lot different than I expected you to be. You're a lot taller." I said, "Yeah, well, okay, here I am, better for better or worse." Yeah, yeah.
So is Merrill accustomed to towering over guys?
Wow.
Yeah,
I guess
probably.
so.
Well, she didn't expect me to be almost as tall as Jim. How tall are you? 6'3"?
Used to be
Used to
6'4".
be.
Now I'm 6'3".
Say again, 6'3"?
I used to be 6'4" for most of my life, but after age 50, you shrink. So I'm 6'3".
Yeah, well, I'm still, I used to be 6'2.5". I'm probably 6'2" now. Anyway, but just a little bit shorter than you are. But I think Meryl was surprised, especially when she saw us together. So anyway, that was kind of fun too when we met at your
Height,
house.
height is an old family joke. We say my brother Tom was 6'4", my dad was 6'4", my brother Dick in Idaho was 6'4", my mom was 6'9".
Holy mackerel. Really?
Nobody
That's a
except you
joke.
has ever believed that.
That's a joke. That's a come on.
How
Yeah.
tall are you, John? Is you 6'10"?
Yeah, and
God,
my dad was 6'4", and the family joke was is that he grew a foot in his freshman year of high school, which made it really hard to find pants with 3 legs.
Hi,
And
Mercy.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I also went through the 1 year shrinkage after the age 50. John, did you?
Uh, you go to the doctor's office and they have that little scale with the little thing that swings up. It stops at 6'6". So
You're off the charts.
yeah.
And if it went up, the nurse couldn't lift it that high anyway. Oh, jeez. That's
Did she
great.
say she couldn't get it up for him?
Oh.
Some of them will go further, but the measurements stop.
Uh,
Yeah.
isn't it compression of cartilage after age 50 that shrinks us?
Yeah, mostly.
Just space, scoliosis.
Posture.
All
People
right. Hey,
inside
Howard.
word.
Yeah.
Unmute yourself.
But you grow emotionally.
Oh, boy, speak for yourself.
So Howard, did you join us 2 times tonight?
Can't hear you.
Unmute.
Good. You're muted.
Because your name's over there and your face is over here.
Calm down. Will you?
There you
So,
go.
I just got a new computer and I haven't set it up obviously very well. I have a camera but no mic, so I'm coming in through my iPad right now. So
Yeah,
You
and
have
reverberation.
to close the other connection. You're getting
yeah,
feedback.
so, all right, good idea.
How does that happen when only one is unmuted?
I don't know. Anyway, there we go. That's
That's
better.
good.
Yeah,
Nice.
that's better.
Yeah. Well, hi. So I've been listening in to everybody and share everybody's sorrow about Bryan. Interesting man. I had no idea how big his bibliography was until I looked it up recently. I mean, he wrote scores of articles for the New Yorker. He had a couple of books out there. He was an accomplished guy.
Oh yeah.
And funny as hell. I just it's a real shocker. And I think as Bruce was saying, this is not the last. I guess we have to get used to it.
You know,
Yeah.
there was one quote that I read about Bryan's work, and I forget whether somebody, it might have been the New York Times critic that said he was the best nonfiction writer around in the United States today. That was the quote. Now, he would probably dispute that. But
The best
Well,
what writer?
He had a
Say-
specific dispute about that because John McPhee sort of recovered his truck driving article, and Bryan was pissed. And I thought the Bryan's was better than John McPhee's. Different.
yeah, Bryan has a singular style, and a little bit requires something of the reader to read it, because there's a lot, it's dense, but it's very good. And
He had an attitude.
Dave, would you
they
repeat
say.
that quotation that you gave us about the best something writer?
the best nonfiction writer alive in the United States today. That was the quote that I saw. And
Which decade?
I think it was the New York Times, I think.
Mhm.
Couldn't swear to
I
it.
still remember a line from that New Yorker article about truck drivers. He called a semi truck an exquisitely sensitive inclinometer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
You
I
know,
also
I
learned why they
partnered
always
with
put
them
a
in
twist
those
in the
days.
straps. I always thought it was laziness, but I learned from that article that there's a reason for it.
Okay, please.
And the whole, yeah, to keep them from flapping.
They don't vibrate that way.
Yeah.
Oh, you got the shoulder strap and open window?
No, the
Or the straps
load
on the
straps.
load. Okay, yeah.
You know, I partnered with Bryan in the truck driving days. I didn't last as long at it as he did. I bailed out after 47 below in Great Falls, Montana one night,
Oof.
and 3.5 feet of snow on one 18-hour round trip that wound up taking 3.5 days.
Yeah.
It was not fun once it turned winter in western Montana.
Were you hauling logs, Denny?
Wheat,
Wheat.
loose kernels of wheat in a big hopper bottom trailer, 50,000 pounds at a time.
Oh,
I remember riding in a semi down a mountain grade out of Tahoe back when I was doing the ice show. There was black ice on the road. The driver said, "Well, I got no brakes." Every time he tried everything, the wheels just locked. So he just steered into the snow berm on the side and plowed his way down the road. And I'm white knuckling it all.
Is that
yeah.
when you got wrinkles?
Yeah, that was my first.
Well, on that note, on a much more recent thing that's occurred within this Zoom bench thing, you remember like a year, half, 2 years ago, Ryan, he was driving the baseball team on the old bus and the brakes went out going downhill.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
just happened to him.
I remember him talking about that.
Yeah.
That's when it's time to turn the air conditioner on.
Yeah, that'll help a lot.
Up a little.
Up a little, yeah.
We did have engine brakes.
Welcome, Ed.
When
Hey,
you said he
John.
was funny, it reminded me of all the stories that have occurred to me since this bad news. I remembered one that I always thought was the funniest. We our hauling of wheat out of north central Montana was done on a contract with the Farmers Equity Co-op. They're the ones who owned all the grain elevators in every little town. And we hauled out of there and delivered at grain terminals in Washington State on the Snake River and the Columbia River. What happened to my Zoom? Is it gone? What happened? Am I still
No,
working?
Yeah, mine went crazy
Some
too.
manager is leaning on his computer pad.
somebody's
Yeah,
trying to
come
share.
on, Conroy, get it together here.
What the?
Somebody's,
Hmm?
No,
somebody
it's,
doesn't-
Oh,
Somebody
I
is,
it's
looks
Yeah.
like.
got it back.
Try to share something.
Osuna's screen trying to share.
yeah.
I don't know who Osuna
Who
is.
is Osuna?
I was gonna ask that. Okay.
I do not know.
You let him in.
Yep.
Now look what happened.
Well, you can toss them out, Jim.
Yeah. Well, I thought I'd give a chance to see what's up.
Yeah, I wonder who it is. I don't recognize it, but
Well, if you can hear, I'll tell the story.
We can hear.
yeah, we can.
Bryan never compromised his appearance. He continued to look like
There
a
it
freak
is.
hippie
Okay,
the whole
there we go.
time.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
There, that worked. I put up this picture. Sorry to interrupt.
He continued to maintain his experience, his appearance in spite of the people we were dealing with. And one time the boss asked Bryan to make a detour through the city of Great Falls to the Farmers Equity Co-op office and pick up a check. We were too much in the hole to wait for it to come in the mail. So Bryan walked into the office where a whole room full of very straight employees were sitting at their desks doing bookkeeping and such. And they looked so shocked when they looked up and they saw this guy coming in with this
Hi.
gigantic dark handlebar mustache and this massive hair and this sort of suntanned wild look in his eyes. And they all looked so shocked. He just spontaneously said, "Put him in the air. This is a stick up."
Okay, let's see.
Oh, they're both.
Thank you. Well, I see your faces and I
Nobody could
see,
move an inch for at least
I hear
10
the
seconds
discussion, but
until he cracked this
oh,
big
wait a minute,
smile and
something's
laughed.
coming here. Okay,
Who's talking?
Yeah, we can hear Jose now. That's Jose.
Jose,
Can you-
and he can hear.
can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
We
And he
can
can
hear-
speak, but he can't get his camera working. Same
I
as
can't get the camera. Anyway, it's good to see you.
Good to
And
be
I'm very happy that we're able to get together, and I certainly remember Bryan, and as do all of you, and I think it's wonderful that we're meeting in his honor.
In his
Right.
wake.
oh God, Parker. Oh,
Double entendre alert.
Dennis, on that same note, I remember driving out west with him and Tarlo, I think it was. I can't even remember. We got one of those AAA Acon drive-away cars
Yeah.
and drove to California over Christmas. And we stopped in a cafeteria in the Salton Sea area. And we sat there for about 30 minutes and then realized that they were not going to serve us.
oh,
Because So we just had to get up and leave.
Was your hair too long or what?
Yeah, bunch
Those
of
days.
truck drivers looking cross-eyed at us, and this waitress and everybody, they just avoided us, and we finally just realized it was active. So we left.
You may recall our visit to George and Harry's once in our senior year, when Bryan had his hair at his longest. I think we all did, and we all decided to pull into the bar over there on George Street, and every one of us ordered banana daiquiris.
Right. Right.
So
And
there's 6 or 7 hippies sitting at this old blue bar ordering banana daiquiris, and I'll always remember the response of the bartender who dutifully poured them out and says, "Drink them and get out."
That's it. That's a classic.
And Bryan was right there with that. That may have been the same day that we had the picture on Kingman Brewster's doorstep. Actually, I think that was a simultaneous event. But
Better get out, buddy.
yeah, better get out.
Yeah, oh, right.
But wait, what do you mean simultaneous? Which came first?
That was after we went to the King's house.
Yeah, it was daytime when we
Yeah,
were
that
at
was
the
still in
King's
the
house.
daytime. Yeah.
I was just looking at that. Well, we all were just looking at that picture, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Since Marion sent it.
That appeared in Newsweek magazine at some point.
It did indeed.
That photograph.
June 15th.
Oh, well, good work. I'm Bruce, or if Jack is around, Jack Burke, you there?
He's there.
You remember the famous trip to Byers, right?
Byers.
Yeah, Byers,
Oh,
Colorado. Huh?
The dog track?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was you, me, Conroy, and De Salvatore.
I don't think Conroy was there.
Maybe not, but you
I
and
was.
I and Bryan were there.
I thought Krauser was there.
Could have been, but that's where Bryan. We were all broke at the time. You were still working as a bartender at the Hungry Farmer and making banana barn burners for anybody who'd want them. And I remember none of us had a cent, and we all said, you know what, we're going to go out to the dog track and make some money. And so we went out there and lost a lot of money. And at the very end, I think Bryan had $10 left to his name, literally. And we saw this dog named Krishna on in the last race, and we all said, this is an omen. And Bryan put $10 for Krishna to win. And of course, Krishna ran off the track at the first turn, never
Right.
to be seen again, except
Right up into the stands.
right up into the stands.
And Howard, I never forgot your comment. You said after losing our money, you said, I guess he tired of this gross material plane.
What memories?
I never knew there was a dog track.
Well, there
What
is
was that?
like the Colorado banned dog racing a couple years ago, or more than a couple years ago.
Yeah.
But they used to have a law that the dog tracks had to be 40 miles apart from one another. So
Huh.
we had to way the hell out for the winter track. It was way out of 40 miles exactly outside of Denver. We had a long ride out there and a long ride back. And Howard, you remember we went to Colorado Springs to the dog track, and that was the Jim punched out your window.
That's right.
Yeah.
He was going after a fly.
That's right. I said, I think I remember this horribly vividly. Oh, look, a female Anopheles mosquito. Whack. And your goddamn windshield shattered.
Shattered.
Jesus.
I have to
Too deep, Jim, too deep.
I have to give Howard credit for that because he didn't react at all. The windshield, you could see it just crack, and Howard just kept on driving for about 10 minutes.
He thought he was hallucinating.
What are you gonna do? What choice do you have?
Jim.
Well, there was that. He did say, Jim. That's
So
God.
I think I'm the first person here to meet Bryan. And so
Ah.
I'm going to tell a really quick story that I've shared with Jim already. And that is, so we both arrive at 1096 Bingham Hall about the same day. And we're both lost at sea. We have no idea what's going on. And so we're unpacking. And the two beds in that part of the suite were shoved up against the wall right next to each other. And we're both jet lagged. And so we just climb into bed and go to sleep. The next morning, John Morse shows up and in a very snide, preppy way starts making sophisticated gay baiting jokes. And Bryan and I go, well, no, wait. We're allowed to move the furniture? The answer was yes. So we moved the beds, and Yale allowed us to move a whole shitload of stuff over the next 4 years around.
Yeah, I believe Bryan was part of building a living room in the courtyard of Silliman.
Yeah.
Yes.
He had a door and a window and everything. It was great.
Yeah, Ben was involved with that
As
too.
I
He set
recall.
up he put a window up on stilts and
Yeah.
turned it into a basement apartment. Remember that?
That was
John, you
brilliant.
must have had a hell of a time with Yale Bench.
No, that's the whole reason I went. Is that
They had
I got
huge.
flown out as a basketball recruit, and they were 7-foot beds.
What?
I'm
They take care of their athletes.
I'm here in a second. You bet.
That was a big plus for me too, John.
Yep.
My dad
Never
drove
never
bothered me
noticed.
any.
when my dad took me to the room 1127 Bingham. He said, "Look at that. That's all right. Okay, we're good." But then I met Blackwell, and I thought, I don't know.
Yeah.
Ed, you have your hand up. What's up?
Yeah, I just want to mention a couple of things. By the way, I believe I was the first person to meet Bryan before we arrived at Bingham Hall,
Ah.
back in Los
Wow.
Angeles
Oh, I didn't know this.
at
Oh.
what was the name of the place? Four Oaks Farm in Encino, California, in the San Fernando Valley. This guy who was an asshole, but he was he was recruiting kids for all these colleges, and he thought it'd be, stars in his crown. Anyway, very rich, but that's another story. And Bryan didn't have his mustache yet. I do remember that. And I remember Carlos Moreno, that, Latino from East LA, rumbling up on his motorcycle to this gathering of the guys who were going to Yale from Southern California. And Bryan had a chuckle on that. But what I also want to explain is I am, if you see me with papers, I have in front of me a folder of all of my correspondence over the years with Bryan. I kept this is quite a few letters. I mean, going back early 2000s, it's sporadic, but I'm sure, and I'm looking for specific things that I think would be worthy to relate. So if I'm not paying attention, I'm listening, but I'm also looking for things that I think Bryan would want me to share.
Here's some very quick legal advice. Talk to Dee about this, because donating Bryan's papers to the University of Montana Library yields a huge tax deduction.
Oh,
well,
interesting.
Somebody should tell me what would be relevant for the Salvatore papers at University of Montana.
Talk to Dee sometime down the road in a few months. Send Dee an email, or send me one and I'll send it to her.
Well, if you can give me her email, I would be delighted, because I'm sure there's stuff I would like to share with her that I'm going through right now. And
Okay.
in fact, one thing that I found, I think I have to read part of, back from, I believe this was from 2013,
Let me
chapter
are you
chapter
saying
5 of a novel
about
he wrote.
letters?
Excuse me?
I'm sorry, John, you gave some legal advice. Does that mean we're not supposed to talk amongst ourselves about the content of letters?
Oh, no, just,
Okay, sorry,
Oh,
never
just
mind.
about if
just
for
be in touch with
donating
me
to
if
the
you
University
want
of
to.
Missoula for
Okay.
the Bryan de Salvatore
Yeah,
archives.
you
He
know,
should be remembered.
I've sent him a whole stack of stuff
Wow.
of that letters that he wrote me over the years, and so they're in the archives. But isolated pockets like this, that's perfect.
Whoa. Well, continue. I'm going to continue to go through the letters to find, and I have a feeling I will be reading part of this chapter 5 from 2013. I miss. Yeah, I kept them all. I did. I really did.
Good for you.
That's all I'll say.
He's such a good
I'm glad
letter
I
writer.
did.
I
Pardon
ran
me?
across him too.
I wonder
You
if he
better
kept
be.
my letters. And he always insisted, no emails. Let's do it like traditional mail. And great. I'm a Luddite too, as was he. Continue.
John, is there anything formal planned for him in terms of a memorial service or anything? Do we know?
Miriam would know.
Zoom. What's
I-
this Zoom? Oh,
I Zoom with the D and she said nothing planned yet. He's cremated today, and hopefully his nephew Willie will be willing to take his ashes to Maui, but she's not sure. And so, it's just play it by ear. She's fully aware of her timeline. She said certainly nothing in the next several weeks, whatever that means, because it's going to be ugly weather there. And Rocky's been able to keep us a little posted on just, what the local situation is like. But John, I don't know whether you're talking to her personally, but she's keeping up with what's going on with you. I haven't spoken to her. I've just texted.
No, I sent her a text on Tuesday, but otherwise I haven't been in touch with her.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't. I have not been close to her. I'm very fond of her, and certainly didn't want to steal anyone's connection. But I'm sure John. I didn't give out her telephone number to anybody, Rocky, either. I don't know whether.
Yeah, I gave it to Rocky, and he actually, I had a couple of calls with him today about things. So yeah.
Good. Yeah. Well, I just I'm trying to keep a low profile. It's just,
Yeah.
And
I'm hoping. I know.
And I circulated the death announcement from the Missoulian, which had the link to the funeral home, and it doesn't have any things scheduled at all. But if you go to that link, there's kind of a condolences section, and there are a half a dozen posts by various people, all from Missoula, that give you a kind of a sense of what he meant in that world.
Yeah, I think they're probably going to have something in Missoula because those
Oh, yeah.
people are in Missoula,
Yeah.
But she said that she was going to write an obituary, I had written a thing for the Facebook page, Yale 70 Facebook page, and I sent it to her to see if there were any errors in it. She said just the spelling of my name, which I've corrected. But she said she'd like to use some of that and give credit. I said, don't worry about credit because you all contributed to it. Maybe for the obituary that she's writing. So we're all just doing what we do, you know. She's obviously got a large number of people there supporting her and helping her. Oh my,
Oh, what a picture.
that's beautiful.
Reminiscing.
Yeah, Lawler's
You,
got some.
somebody told a story about long hair. In
That's
fact,
one of mine.
two or three of us did. Who is
Looks
that,
like-
Mike?
Hmm?
Mike? Was that you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just mentioned that that was my photo.
Yes, and credit should be given to photos, by the way.
Yeah.
We need to be real careful about that.
It's not as important as Mike not getting credit for the Kingman Rooster photo.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to find is a copy of the new journal. I know I have one somewhere, but he
Not
had,
I.
he did an article, Bryan wrote, I took some pictures of the roller derby thing when it came to New Haven.
Mhm.
And it was great. It was a good article.
I have some copies of the New Journal, but I don't remember that. Was that in 68, 69 or 69, 70?
Sure.
Because the 68, 69 was the year I was away.
What, you asked me to know the date of something? My
Well,
God.
the year I was away.
God,
you know,
man.
I mean, when you were
I don't know if
juniors.
you were there.
What?
Jesus.
I
I
guess
have
you
no
were.
That was a
idea.
long time ago.
Yeah, it was
54
sometime between
years.
then and then.
It seems closer today than it did yesterday. I mean, yesterday. No, never mind.
Yeah.
It does seem close. Look at all of us together for Bryan. That's good.
Yeah, it's very good.
Mhm.
Amen.
Osama's back.
Mm-hmm. That's Jose.
Yeah, Jose's
It's
back.
that's
Jose.
Jose. That's me, Jose. My wife's screen name is Osuna.
Ah,
There's his address.
So that's me. I'm sorry I don't appear in a picture. I have no idea.
Yeah. Well, it's okay. We know you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Jose, were you at Yale or were you at Montana or what? I don't know your name.
You
I
don't
should.
remember
Our
Jose?
class.
Sure you
Excuse
Yeah,
me?
I'm at Yale. We know each other. I'm Jose Hiron.
Oh,
You know,
and do you remember me?
The famed
Of course.
doctor who tells us all about COVID.
I'm
This
the
guy got us
doctor
Oh,
through
that,
the pandemic,
Jose.
remember?
remember?
You're-
Yeah, that's me.
Why didn't
Oh.
you say?
That's
Oh,
me.
God. Excuse me. And I was going to thank you. I've been meaning to thank you and congratulate you of being a wonderful doctor and for being part of us. I've been just so overwhelmed with everything else.
Well, it's my honor and my privilege to be able to speak to you. And I want to say that it's very touching that we are gathered and remembering Bryan. I didn't know him as well as some of you did. I knew him through, our bench meeting, which Jim organized, but I think
Zlotnik.
we're doing a wonderful thing. It's a mitzvah. For
Yeah.
those of you who are Jewish, this is a true
And even
mitzvah.
if you're not, it's a mitzvah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
even if you're not.
And Jose, I recognize your voice. That helps.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, at least that helps. I don't know what happened with the computer. Usually I have a face, but I'm technologically deficient today.
That's
Didn't take
okay.
my vitamins. But it's great to see all of you, and you look wonderful.
You too, Jose. Oops.
Yeah, you look great,
Yeah,
man. You look better than ever.
Yeah, my color's great, don't you think?
One.
Absolutely.
You brought us to a quorum. The quorum is we have 4 doctors and 1 lawyer. That's about right.
Hey, Jose, it's Mercer. I'm from the class of 70. I'm kind of a peripheral hanger-on in the admirers of Bryan, but have been doing this with these Zoom guys, and a lot of them I knew face-to-face back at Yale in the old days. And I've been following you online, and I got to
Well,
tell
yeah.
you, man, I'm going to do something in 6 days. I'm flying to Cuba.
Oh my
I'm
God.
going to Cuba to play music with musicians in Cuba.
Oh boy.
That'll be
Well,
fun.
you will enjoy it a great deal. Um, the government may be a mess, but the one thing about Cuba, Mercer, is that the people, you know, are are special.
Are
And
beautiful.
music in Cuba, as you probably know, is very, very unique. There's some wonderful musicians, some of whom are very old. You probably know about the Buena Vista.
Yes.
Well,
Buena Vista Social
I'm
Club.
sort of going on a Buena Vista tribute tour.
Ah.
I'm learning
Well,
all those songs I'm going to perform 'em with actual Cubans, and next week I'm terrified.
you'll have a great time.
Yeah, I'm really-
Um, you'll probably stay in Havana, which is honestly one of the most beautiful cities in the whole world. And if you can, just walk around Havana. Havana just has just wonderful, wonderful places and areas. Um, the Havana Bay is terrific. And if you get to see other parts of Cuba, that's wonderful. Um, but even just being
and
in Havana, you'll enjoy it.
place us all in the context of our wandering boy Bryan, who went across the globe looking for the perfect wave type of guy, and is famous for that and all.
Speaking
Well,
of which, Mercer, are you in touch with Finnegan at all?
Yeah, peripherally. Yeah, he lives a little south of me. He used to live in my building for 18 years.
Yeah, I assume that Dee let him know that this had happened. I was just wondering.
I assume that I didn't have to let him know this happened. He knew about it before I did, for God's sake. It's a funny thing, death, one of my formative experiences at Yale was that my roommate, Bob Ellenberg, and Bruce Parker knows about this, fell to his death in a rock climbing accident in Manhattan in
Not
Mount
Washington.
Yeah. And now I look up, and I was looking up Finnegan's website. His daughter, as of maybe 2 years ago, was like the president of the Yale Mountaineering Club.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
And I
Molly.
haven't been in touch with him in 2 years. And if I ran into him on the street and say, "Hey, Bill, yeah, is your daughter aware that my roommate Rob Ellenberg is the one who fell off the mountain?" So I haven't. But if I saw him, I certainly would have that conversation. Last time I saw him, he gave a reading at the New York Public Library. What's that, 2015, the book? And maybe it's 2016, at which point Ellen was still, she couldn't talk very well, but she could still walk around. And we went to hear him, and we kind of walked with him up 42nd Street, and he could tell something was wrong with her, but he couldn't tell quite what. And so.
Okay. Well, we're going to New York at the end of the month, and so I think I might get in touch with him.
Yeah, I'm sure he would love that, because when I used to talk to him about, hey, you and I know these same guys at Yale, he always, told me about you, John.
Okay, I give.
It has its moments. Grappling with the existential.
Hey, can I play you a song? Would you like that?
If it's something Bryan would like, I think he'd like it.
This is about what we're talking about.
I did
Okay.
appreciate John Wiston's song entry. I'm a longtime fan of Kate Wolf.
Oh, yeah. Across the Great Divide. I just sent that to you and Merrill.
Okay.
There are places I'll remember all my life, and some have changed, some forever, not for better. Some have gone and some remain. All these places had their moments with lovers and friends. I still can recall. Some are dead and some are living in my life. I've loved them all. But of all these friends and lovers, there is no one compares with you. These memories lose their meaning when I think of love as something new. Though I know I'll often stop and think about them in my life. I love you more.
Thank you, Mercer. Hey, John Boke.
Hey,
Unmute yourself.
Welcome, John.
unmute. Unmute. John. We can't hear you. No?
He's working on it. Calm down.
He's got it. He's
It's
got it.
good.
Am I audible?
There we go.
Somebody tell me, am I audible?
Yes, you
Yes.
are.
Now,
Yes, I am.
Welcome. Anything you'd like to share?
Let's see, I gotta turn up the volume. I'm pretty deaf these days. That one make it louder. What kind of things have you been sharing thus far?
Just stories, which I hope
Just
will
any old-
accumulate in writing. Anybody who has a story, send it over. We'll put them all together.
And a few pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Bruce Parker's story that when he and John Long and I made a trip to the West Coast in January of '70. He said, Bruce said the other day, do you remember all of us getting into Las Cruces and mailing off our term papers or something? I said, no, I don't remember it at all, but I thought it was a fun story. Just to be reminded of what had been forgotten for so long.
The second chapter of that is that
Let's see, other fun stories.
I secreted Bryan's phone that was covered with paint, sort of like the paint covers the earth in your kitchen, John. And
Yeah.
at about 15 years, 85 or so, I went through law, truth or consequences, New Mexico, and mailed the phone to him
That's
with
right.
bogus return address. And I didn't tell him for another 10 years who had done that. That was fun. We chuckled about that.
The last time I saw Bryan, I guess, was the 25th reunion, which obviously was quite a while ago.
He didn't come to very many.
Mike,
That was the last one.
Was on the old campus?
No, it was, I don't remember where it was. I think it was in Silver.
Yeah, it was.
actually.
We were assigned Durfee, Dirty Hall.
It was on the old campus?
Yeah.
Oh,
Were we staying in Davenport at the 50th reunion? No, at the 25th. I somehow remember being in Davenport and those are the only reunions I've been at.
that was 2 years ago. Ed.
In Davenport was 2 years ago? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. You see how the memory goes, closer we get,
So Dave, there's your connection with Bryan. You were at the same 25th reunion.
No, yeah, I was at it, but I didn't know him then, and
You probably didn't meet him. a bunch of us introduced ourselves, which is why you connected and why you're here.
Yeah, well, I'm here because of Jim and Ben, really. Which reunion did we meet at, Jim? Was it the
Might have
30th?
been the 40th,
Was it the 40th? No,
maybe.
no,
I met you at the 25th,
35th. Was that
25,
when we met, Bruce?
25,
The-
25.
I met you at the 25th. Is that right?
I know.
Okay, then I guess I was there.
I met you courtesy of Ben in
That's right.
Pasadena.
That's
Right.
right. We went over to the Athenaeum at Caltech and
Yeah,
and came over and had oysters with you guys at one point too, over in Silver Lake. Yeah, but it was pretty fun because I showed up at the reunion and Charlie Hickox from my old band, the Restless Ones, which we, of course we played when I was at Yale. We played, and I knew Charlie really well, and he said, "Come on, you have to come to the reunion. I'm playing, and you got to play bass." And I said, "Really?" I said, "No one's going to remember me." And for 1 year that I was there, and he goes, "No, no, come on, come on, come on, come on," because he and I had stayed in touch, and the band members had stayed in touch over the years. And so I said, "All right, I'm coming, I'm coming." So I show up, and I'm wandering around like a lost sheep, wondering what the hell am I going to do? These people aren't going to know me. And I come over to the table, and Jim looks up and says, "Sit down." And I think Howard, maybe you said grab a, or Bruce, you said grab a beer. And Howard, I think I chewed you out for not having your CPAP machine with you, which you didn't. I think, is that right?
No.
CPAP machine. No, it was somebody else then. Okay, one of the other classmates was a cardiologist, and we were talking about stuff, and I said, "Yeah, I have CPAP," and he said, "Oh yeah, I didn't bring mine." I said, what are you talking about? You're a fucking cardiologist, and you didn't bring it? He goes, "No." And so I remember that discussion, but Jim, we sat down and Ben was there and we started talking, and half the people around the table had left Yale at one point or another. And next thing I know, I'm part of the group and it was fun. And then not long after that, I got married to Colleen, and Jim and came out from Philadelphia to Pasadena to my wedding, which was fun.
That was
And
great. I believe you wore a Cuban shirt,
I did. I wore yeah, what
Guayabera shirt.
that's it,
Guy
Guy
Vera.
shirt, yeah. And because it was my wife, Colleen, taught Spanish, although she's not a Latina. She taught Spanish 28 years at Temple City High School, which is outside of LA here, and had lived in Mexico and in Colombia. So she is very, very fluent, and also taught for 28 years. And so she said, "I'm gonna have a white woman's version of a Mexican wedding." And that's what we did. And it was funny because most of her students were Asian, but they showed up and were helping with it because it was a do-it-yourself thing. And Jim, you remember, and the kids had serapes and sombreros, and they're all Chinese.
Yeah,
Very weird. And
I was so confused.
we had a really good time. It was wonderful. We had it catered by a Central American restaurant here in Pasadena, and they prepared Mexican food. It was real. I thought it was really good. Jim, you can say whether it was or not, but
Exceptional.
I thought it was really good. It was very authentic from what Colleen and other Latina and Latino people said, that it was very authentic. So anyway, those guys came out for the wedding. We had a great time. And another ex-girlfriend who lives in MG Lord, it's a pretty well-known writer actually, and Gary Trudeau's cartoon protege. But we used to date, and so she came to the wedding, and so there was this little Yale group there, which was a lot of fun for me to see everybody and have everybody together. So since then, I met you guys, the rest of you, and I was in Calhoun Hopper College, and those guys, I can't get those guys together to save their lives. I wish I wish like to be in touch with some of the people. Of course, Tartakov's gone. Brandon was a friend, and there are a few people like him that have passed away. Mark Pines, who was our music guru at the time, was also in Calhoun, I think, and he's gone. He was a fellow traveler with the Rolling Stones, and so we got all kinds of stories about Jagger.
And Dave, you and me, Mercer, we've been playing online for like the last 3 years.
And we've been, yeah, and we've been doing music, and Ben has been our techie, has helped us, and we played and had the pleasure of listening to Mercer sing and to play with him. And I played mainly saxophone, which is sitting right here. I won't bore you guys with a serenade, but anyway, Mercer, what key did you do in my life in the tune you just did?
That's A major.
A major. Okay, thanks. I had the music for it.
We'll pick it up next time. But you know, when you were talking about certain issues, I was reminded of John Boak, who has been actively involved as a mentor for Spanish speaking. Right, John?
Yeah, not too directly. I've been the webmaster and brand manager for Yale Latino Alumni Network, which was created by David Sanchez. And he's a B school guy who has been a pretty active Yale volunteer over a number of years. He just got a Yale medal this year for being gung-ho on that. He lives in Puerto Rico. And through him, I've, met all kinds of, Yale Latinos and, worked with some of them on projects for the site and all that. But mostly what I'm doing is, I built this website. We have an event coming up, I create an event graphic for it. And sometimes that puts me in touch with people. And then, we co-sponsor other events put on by people like First Gen Yale, who I also do or have done web work. I'm being pushed into retirement on both of those by myself, and also their plan. You got a plan for transition. Yale SIGs tend to grow up and then vanish within a couple of years, because the person who made it happen went on to other things. So it's really, both of those are fairly decent sized operations, especially First Gen Yale is a really big deal. And the universities even put a lot of money into things that we do. I think last year they gave us, well over $400,000 for the summer internships that we create amongst Yale faculty for First Gen low income Yaleys. So yeah, that's been a strong connection to Yale for me recently.
Yeah. So John, one of the things that has sort of been skipped over in the last few days as we talked about Bryan is that he did a lot of work on a couple of reunion books with you. And so, for all of his grumpiness and curmudgeonly and his fraught relationship with Yale, he was really in touch, knew a lot of people from our class.
Yeah, he did that whole chapter on. That's funny. I had forgotten all about that he took on one of the chapters, and he read all this material and then gave his own humorous, curmudgeonly reactions to it all. I'll have to go look all that up. I forgot. My book's out in the studio, so I can't whip it out.
A lot of us talked about the first time we saw Bryan and the last time we saw Bryan, and here's my last. And that's in Bryan's backyard with Irene. That was August 2022. About 30 minutes after that, Bill Rosbach was sitting in the other chair.
Bill Rosbach. I remember him.
Yeah. Glad I got to see him.
Well, I thought about Bryan a lot recently because of the fact that West Maui was in the news so much last year.
Yeah.
So, I spent a lot of time passing through Lahaina with Bryan.
No.
In his turquoise car, and lots of other places there. So that's a lot of the Bryan that I remember was this, younger surf guy and his
Frozen.
Rose, Brian, or
It's like
John.
a frozen screen. What?
Technology.
Well, that reminded me that I had a very old little Yale address book, and I told some of you that I found his addresses in it just yesterday or the day before, and one of them was written in pencil. General delivery Guam. What the hell? I didn't know what that guy was doing. I thought this is the biggest weirdo I have ever known. Where the hell are you? And he was on what, a worldwide surfing tour? I don't even know where he went.
Oh, no,
Tell me, tell
he
me.
got it. He got his MFA in Missoula. I bought his old Ford Fairlane, the Blue Flame, and he took off and taught high school in Guam for a year.
God,
And then Finnegan showed up in Guam, and they started their around the world surfing trip that produced a Pulitzer Prize for Finnegan.
God.
And they
Yeah.
made it. Bryan made it as far as Thailand, as I recall.
Wow. What a life. Wow. I couldn't imagine what the hell those guys were doing.
I think
Brian
he
was
over
really
there.
Brian was really happy when Endless Summer showed up our freshman year.
Yeah.
And I suspect that was a inspiration for the for the later surfing trip.
So I was just thinking about this, that Jane Smiley and I worked on an archaeological dig in Winchester, England for a summer. And so we're in the cafeteria having lunch, and a friend says, I just saw the weirdest thing. I saw this guy walking down the street in Winchester, England, with a surfboard wrapped up in a sleeping bag. It was Bryan stopping to say hey on his way to Portugal.
Jeez.
Whoa.
You know, we never did hear very many of his memories of his trip to Italy. I was really sorry.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, was this his first time to
No.
the homeland?
Yes, I think it was.
Sicily.
For
This
a
was
year,
Second time.
Italian.
I'm so grateful. I mean, just for that this last. Well, I mentioned it in terms of myself, but I think it commonly his being in the last Zoom in December. Just he had a lot to say to everyone.
Yeah. He was gentle, but always brilliant, I thought.
And direct.
Yes.
Yeah.
An emotional directness that's what. Well, and by the way, if you want to, I think you all remember, some of you, here it is. Is that clear?
Yeah.
And
More or less.
I mean, I just took it right off my wall because that's hanging here in my office. And of course, Kim Hart's not here, but I forgive the it's not, I don't mean to be maudlin. It's not. I really believe this. The other four are all here. Bryan, I think Bryan's here. And I found three things that, and I'm not going to, that you might find interesting here in his writings that I've been going through here. I will start with both. Yeah. Both of these letters. Well, this first letter, which I'm not going to go through, but June 13th, 2012. And in this letter, I'm not going to go through it because he basically is like ecstatic that he's finished with his novel, and he's I'm not going to read the whole synopsis of the novel because I'll just leave it at that. This was June 13th. And then 5 months later, November 15th, the same year, November 2013. P.S. And it was a very short letter, as you see. This one is pages before. Short letter. I just will read you the P.S. finished my novel, printed it out today, 560 pages. I feel dreadful, as in full of dread.
Yeah.
And yet, I would like to read just a few short paragraphs. Just one little, he sent me, with one of these letters, he sent me chapter 5. And I'm only going to read a few paragraphs, but he just explains the characters. The year is 1955. The main character, he's on his way to spring training on the Pacific Coast, in the Pacific Coast League. Kid who's got himself into professional baseball. And I realized this is, well, I think it's lovely prose. I will shut up, Ed. Thank you. The train had no more finished rocking dead before it blew loud its impatience to get back to work. A soft jerk, another signal, 2 longs, a short, a long. He leaned against the wall, letting the air wash through the open window. That was when it occurred to him. He could smell sage. It was February, middle of winter with a capital W. He had never known an outside smell in winter, not even dog shit. But here he was, Hebrides Hawkins, standing in train breeze, in trousers, brogans, a knitted vest, and long-sleeve shirt. He had no cap. He had no earmuffs. He had no greatcoat. He had no thick socks. He had no boots. He had no gloves. He had no union suit. He had shed all those in Las Vegas, stuffed them in a second suitcase. Bo's car had never warmed up. Neither had the milker to Butte. The connector to Salt Lake was only a little better. The windows thick with whore. Then at last, as far as Las Vegas, the main line local to Los Angeles had had 2 minds, too cold or too hot. The wheezing system had spun the alternate uncomfortable airs from various vents like so much peppermint swirl. What he had noticed: no wheezing, no sweaty neck, no icy or cold as window, or no icy or cold as window. No temperature in this new world.
Thanks, Ed.
And later I will read something else where he talks about personal communication that I think you will like, but I'll save that for later. Thank you.
Okay.
Hey, Bruce.
At some point, Bryan told me about a summer job he had working on the railroad in Southern California as a West Coast under assistant brakeman or something.
Yeah, on the
And-
Southern Pacific. Yeah.
Yeah, and he tried to explain Buddhism to the other railroad workers. Says, see the phone there? It's alive. And they looked at him like he was just batshit crazy. And he decided maybe he should shut up. Wrong context.
Here, here.
Yeah.
Did he have a thing about carrying around a watch and going train time, or was that somebody else I knew?
Don't remember that.
Yeah, anyway.
He did carry around a book that he scribbled in all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's where
Yes.
the famous Ringo the Cretan Beetle
Yeah.
line came
Yeah.
out of.
Yeah.
I remember that one.
Yeah.
I have a couple pages from his ever-present book of when somebody asked me to try psilocybin that somebody had synthesized up on Science Hill. And unfortunately, Bryan took notes, which captured several quotes that made no fucking sense at all from me. Thanks, Bryan.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this is something I talked about with Mike on the phone a couple of days ago. I have very clear memory of and I'm wondering who else was there. It was certainly Mike was there. I was there. Bryan was there. I think it was during spring break. Rossback was there, and we were out at Anne Wagner's parents' home. What is it, New London? Somewhere
I
nearby.
have photos
Oh, boy.
of
Oh,
that.
and well, I have one of the photos is in my mind. You have a photo of Bryan, and
Were they
all
taken
except
by
the only
you,
person
Mike?
who wasn't tripping on acid was Rossback. The rest of us were. It was quite an afternoon.
Mike, were you there taking those photos?
I was there. I don't know if I was taking photos because I was reasonably, how should we put it, under the
Tripping.
influence.
I think they're your photos.
Yeah.
Yeah, they might be. There's a picture of me lying on an Indian rug outdoors with a
Yes.
can of
Yeah.
Sprite.
Oh,
And I don't know who
Rossback.
took that. Maybe Bill. I don't know.
Well, there were a
Rossback had
couple,
a Nikon.
and Bryan was lying on that. There's a picture of Bryan lying on that rug at some point too.
Yeah. Anne Wagner's place. Yep.
Were you there, John?
Yeah, in my funny clothes.
Oh.
I was there. I was there.
Oh.
Mercer was there.
It was a a big, respectable middle class house with 2 stories and a great
Big
No,
backyard.
yeah. Hey, in California, it'd be called an estate.
Yeah.
But anyway.
So
But there
did
was
you
a bathtub. There was an empty clawfoot bathtub in that backyard.
Yeah.
were Anne's parents surprised?
They weren't there.
They weren't there. That was the whole point. House party.
Oh, I don't remember Bryan ever joining the Lemmings to Kiki's house. Did he ever?
Oh, Kiki's place.
That
You mean,
he-
It was-
that,
I don't
Where-
think so.
is that up on the Hudson River somewhere?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The river, yeah.
Oh,
I was there.
There.
Did
I
it
was
have a
there.
Quonset
Ulster
hut?
Park, New York.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Mm.
I don't know where he went after he left Whaley. I don't remember.
John, he visited us in Saugerties once.
Did he?
Yeah, he came by
I don't
for
remember this.
for
Okay.
a couple of days, and that was a strange place at the time.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
And he didn't last long there. He was on his way somewhere else, but he was there.
Okay.
I have a discrete, separate memory. While you were just talking about various things that Bryan wrote, and I remember as a awestruck, underclassman, the great cool guy, right? He published a short story in, I think it was some kind of literary magazine that was Silliman College specific, whatever. But
The
I remember,
occasional organ, maybe.
but I remember the story, and it was about a middle class Southern Californian Italian guy who tries to date like blue collar Italian, and it doesn't work out because she says, no, I'm not good enough. I'm not of your class. I have a vivid memory of the story. If anybody has a copy of it, I'd love to see it.
I'm looking.
Ed's digging.
Ed's standing.
Well, I know I have somewhere in there an anthology of work from Silliman, but I can't. It's not popping out at me.
Ed, you would probably be our best shot.
Yeah.
There's
My house is a library, is all I can tell you.
Well, this has been absolutely great. Oh, what is this?
those are Bryan's notes from the most ridiculous trip I ever took.
Captain James Conroy.
And they called
Oh, Rough
Silliman-
Captain Conroy?
they called
Yeah.
it Silliman Simon.
Yeah,
So-
and those are the star dates on the on the left side. Okay.
Yeah, and we were on the roof for half of this trip. The roof is Silliman. I'm trying to forget it. Well, we had a lot of hellishly good times with Bryan. We're We're gonna
Yes.
miss it. So glad
Yeah.
we can share it this way.
Yeah, I've got to take
Jack?
off.
Jack?
Oh,
Before you go,
Hey,
John, I'd like to
Did anybody take pictures of the black room, the
I'm
black
sorry.
Brian room?
oh, I remember
No.
that.
Oh,
Everything
yeah.
was,
Did
he even
anybody take
painted the light
pictures?
bulbs black. That didn't work out so well.
Yeah.
When you
Yeah, I don't
turned
know.
them on, you couldn't see anything.
How can you take a picture of a black room? I'm sorry, he's an artist. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Jack, go ahead, Jack.
Yeah, before we end, I don't know if I'm the only one who remembers this, but in our most recent Zoom on December 8th,
Yes.
I started a discussion about eyesight and how I'd been diagnosed with various things. And then Ben picked up on that theme, and then somebody else got into a medical thing. And then it became Bryan's turn. And Bryan said, I don't want to hear anything more about medical problems. And signed off.
Yep.
He said, we're old, damn it, get over it.
Yeah,
I think and then he got off right after
he
that.
signed off.
So those were his last words. We're old to the Zoom. We're
Yeah.
old, damn it, get over it.
Yeah, I remember
I
that.
am so glad you remember that, Jack, because I couldn't remember exactly when or where he
Yes.
said.
Yeah.
Good memory. That's important.
That's straightforward.
And do any of us know, Miriam, have you talked to Dee? Was Bryan aware? I mean, did he realize that something like a heart attack had happened to him soon?
Don't know.
I think Wisted can explain, but basically he had massive heart attack. It had to
Yes.
be treated twice. Broke ribs. It was 8 minutes before the EMR got there, and he apparently, this was Wednesday of last week in the afternoon, and then Whiston got an email from Dee saying that he'd had
Saturday morning. Yeah.
brain damage, and they were trying to assess it, but every time they let him up from the sedation, he was extremely agitated and obviously very upset.
And in distress. Yeah.
Had to go ahead, John.
Oh,
What-
that's all I know too. I don't know. Parker knows this better than anybody, but once upon a time, my wife Dorothy had to be at the ER when a friend of ours was brought in this kind of distress, and they did the CPR in front of her, and she said it was the most horrific thing she's ever seen in her life. And so I just can't imagine how hard it would have been on Dee to see that done twice on that day. Just horrible.
Individual responses vary widely. Some people take comfort in that you did everything you could, and some people see it as the flail that it is.
He texted me that she was very sure that he would not want to survive in that shape from the very beginning, and that he had very good. Are you disagreeing? Do I have that wrong, John?
No,
It sounds like him.
Yeah, and there was no question about it. And there was some 83-year-old neurologist who was there for the weekend and for the holiday, and he kept trying to completely remove the sedation so that they could see exactly how much brain damage it was. And she stood up to him and said, no fucking way. If it's going to be all about diagnosis, then I'm all about comfort, and I know what he wants too. So back off. And then what is it? The doctor that came in, palliative care doctor came in the next day and supported everything. And the next day, took him off then later. But it was exactly as any one of us would have wanted it handled. And I'll swear I can't think of a better way to go, you
Mhm.
know?
So
Yeah.
I have
Same
a
here.
tale to tell about maybe a better way to go. I knew my first wife was dying, and we had a plan. And I showed up at 5 a.m. on Monday morning, and she said, "It's time." And so she took some ecstasy, and when she said,
Oh,
"Full tilt," okay, and she got about a gram of meperidine. Yeah, a huge opiate dose, and stopped breathing, but she died as Aldous Huxley had imagined, you know, full tilt psyche,
yeah.
psychedelic.
She was
Way to go. I want
great.
some.
You know, the novelist Kai Emmons, who died this time last year, had she was in the first women class, and I've got to know her during some of the Zooms that they've had, and she was very intentional about a death with dignity, and she's filmed during this whole time, and that film will be available sometime soon. But that group of women had a celebration of life before she did the deed. And so
Great.
she got to see everybody talk about her. I had the honor of adding to one of 4 people that, because I'd been in contact with her by Facebook or something, and as she was approaching death, she just started opening up in terms of, oh man, this is going to be an adventure, and I'm going to share. And she did.
I don't think we've answered Ed's original question, though.
Agreed.
The precinct question was, did Bryan have any indication of heart problems prior to December?
Was he aware that this might happen?
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't think any of us
No
know about
information.
pre-existing conditions
Well,
because
well,
he never
Dee would
told us.
know, but yeah, maybe
He
he
might
know,
have, but he didn't tell anybody I know of.
Yeah.
That's right.
I kind of wondered why he wanted to go to Italy. Was it like a bucket list thing in his head?
Well,
Yeah.
I'm sure he would want to go anyway, whether
Salvatore?
no, they originally planned to go in 2020, but COVID
right.
and so they finally did get there first and had such a wonderful time that they went back in the fall. So that had been a long time. He spent like 2 or 3 years learning Italian.
That's right.
To do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, he could speak some Italian. I mean, I was talking in Italian with him, and he could
Yeah.
speak it. Yeah, enough to get by, apparently.
And I have just a couple of 3 minutes of these words of Bryan talking, well, about we are his friends, how he liked to communicate. And he lived to communicate. I feel that. Dear Ed, thanks for your note. I agree with you in part about the relative impersonality of various modern forms of communication. In my maturity, the desperate battle not to sound like some cranky old fart, I have parsed the various methods, trying to find the best of each of them. Faxes are excellent for editing purposes, for diagrammatic visual suggestions, etc. Email is excellent for bits and pieces, quick things. In many ways, they are like the telephone. In Dee's English department, for example, quote, meeting at 3 o'clock to discuss XYZ are sent out via email. Saves paper, quicker than phoning, and less chance that someone will miss the notice on, say, the bulletin board. I agree about its unsuitability. And this was a big thing because he insisted we had to write letters to each other. Shut up, Ed. I agree about its unsuitability for longer communications. We have gotten some Christmas emails, the yearly wrap-ups. These I find tawdry. I also get occasionally forwards and attachments, jokes or articles people pass on. I never open these, even from people I know. I also find off-putting those emails that are sent non-business to a billion people. everybody on someone's list, unless it is a change of address or something. You know, the most interesting part of that form of communication is that you get to know people's email address who otherwise you wouldn't. Writers. Yeah, that sort of revealing is odd, like seeing someone walking around in his underwear. I go further. The phone is highly imperfect. I use it primarily for meet you at 2. Tea time tomorrow at 9. If you can't make it, let me know. In fact, I use the phone as a sort of email making calls when I know the other person isn't there. Lots of business done without any personal contact. Up here, the reason for that might be different than in the anonymous big city. Here, there is a custom of chatting or not getting immediately down to business. You have to talk about weather, etc. Got your elk yet? And I hate that sort of empty chatter. I do, quote, talk, unquote, on the phone. I don't like it because I often am, say, reading or doing something or just don't feel like an intense or semi-intense conversation. A phone call is pressure-filled. There is historically, customarily, the sense that this answerer should accept the invitation to talk. So for a phone call to work, both, quote, sensibilities, unquote, i.e. the called and the called, have to coincide. I wonder if that was a misprint and he meant the called and the caller. Beats me. I don't know. So I write letters. They allow for reflection on both parties' parts and can be answered at any time when the time is right. I write about 100 or more a year, some long, some regularly, some occasionally, some short. I use them as warm-ups for the day's work, like a concert pianist practicing his scales. Bless his heart.
Thanks.
Amen.
Truly.
Good place.
All right.
John, thanks for everything.
Peace.
We'll be in touch.
We will continue.
Everyone.
Oh, and Mercer, when are you leaving for Cuba?
Week from Sunday.
Have a
You
wonderful-
you will hear from me
Doing the
before
work.
that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Buen
Yes,
viaje.
sir.
I'll see you guys. Hopefully I'll have video next time. Take care. This is
Thanks for
Jose signing out.
Hey.
Thank you, Jose.
Thanks,
God
Jose.
bless us, everyone.
Thanks to you all who are
Thank you.
performing the chores of putting stuff together.
Good night, all.
Good night.
The question is, are we gonna say things we don't want to get out later?
Oh, I hope so.
Macon, I don't think I've met you. I'm Merrill Mason.
Hello, Merrill. Macon Coles. I was in the class of 1969, but
Hi.
Kim.
probably should have been in the class of 1970. Most
Yeah.
of my close friends, the last 2 years, were in that class.
That's
Were you in Silliman?
I was.
That's a common experience. You were in the class with Phil Swatek, and there's
No.
Maroon.
No.
No.
Bill
it's
Swatek
71.
started out 71.
Yeah, right.
And, Macon actually lived in Solon part of our senior year.
That's right. But I also had an apartment over on Orange Street above a hairdresser. After I graduated, for a period of time, I worked at the Yale Computer Center on graveyard shift. And would party with my dear friends in Silliman and then trundle over to the Yale Computer Center and mount tapes and put cards in a machine to work these programs that would run all during the night on these giant IBM machines. But IBM machines, of course, whose power pales in comparison to our computers we carry in our pocket.
They haven't.
Did you have to keep it at a sub-zero temperature?
No, but it did. There was air conditioning, Merrill, to keep the machines from overheating. What class are you in, Merrill?
71.
Okay.
Miriam, who actually abandoned me and transferred her allegiance to 70, but she really was in 71.
I
graduated. I started out in, what did I start out in? Oh God, I'm blanking on it. Oh, my poor brain. Yeah. Anyway, transferred to Suleiman after my best friend, and I think this is why they let me transfer, tried to commit suicide, and I found her and took her to the hospital, and it was this.
Ooh.
That was 1 block south.
Yeah.
TD. Yeah.
Yeah. And but all my friends were in Suleiman, courtesy of my boyfriend, Mike Lawler. So, and my art major.
Okay.
Let's
So
welcome.
where do you live?
I live in Boulder, Colorado.
Oh, okay.
And of the people so far on this call, I see Bruce Parker every once in a while when he and his wife come through here, but it's been 50 years since I've seen the rest of you.
I'm in Philadelphia, by the way.
All right.
Hey, Dennis.
Welcome, Dennis. I didn't say hi to Jack, and Jack and I have a Boulder background as well.
Really?
In fact, Jack had a cabin up on Boulder Canyon.
It was in Boulder Canyon on Boulder Creek, 8 miles west of downtown Boulder.
Wow, nice.
Where do you live, Macon, in Boulder?
In the central part, just a couple of blocks off the Pearl Street Mall.
Pearl Street, yes.
17th and Mapleton. Mapleton's just 3 blocks north of Pearl. And 17th puts me a couple of blocks off of the walking mall that many people know as visitors here.
I lived in the 600 block of Spruce Street.
Okay.
And I had a neighbor named Mo Siegel.
Yes.
Have you ever heard of him?
Of course. He's a major character here in town.
He was putting seeds and sticks and twigs in muslin bags when I knew him.
And sewing them together, making tea bags. Yeah. That became Celestial Seasonings, which became a tea juggernaut.
It really did become Celestial Seasoning?
Yes. Yeah, Mo Siegel was the founder.
Yeah.
God, what story?
Yeah, well.
Merrill, it's all connected.
That is. That's true.
Andrea started out in the class of 73, but he finished early in 72. Is that right?
And now I'm back in 73, yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
Andrea is clearly the brains behind that operation up in Minneapolis.
Ooh. Ooh.
Hi, Andrea.
Hi.
Dennis, what's going on with you? Well, no, you run it. But Jim, it's up to you.
Oh, I was going to hand it off. My days are so extensive. Well, we usually go around the Zoom sequence, just clockwise, and just say what our recent month has been about, or anything we want to, at about 3 minutes each, and we are terrible at sticking to it. But nonetheless, we have 9 of us. We'll probably get some more later, and we have to make fun of them when they enter late. So let's start. Meryl, what's up? Hi.
Hi. Oh, not much in my world. Just kind of superficially busy. The whole holiday, 3 weeks of holiday with way too many social things, with 2 a day often. And I just felt like I was burning out on it, much as I love my dear friend. And so, just lately been dealing with my sister, which most of you know, she's my only sister and autistic. And really, that's about it. Nothing that I can think of that's very exciting.
Well, then, if it were my turn, I would say that I've spent a lot of time on our collective feelings about losing Bryan Salvatore. So that's I'm trying to compile everything, all the photographs and all the stories, and they are fucking great about Bryan and our friendship. So that's taking a lot of my time. I'm actually zooming from Sacramento right now, which Bruce Parker has a background in Sac, and we came for oddly enough a celebration of life of one of my colleagues from the disability rights movement. And he got a terminal diagnosis and decided, well, fuck that. I'm going to do the celebration of life while I'm still alive. So that's why we're here. That'll be tomorrow. If you're going to say nice things about somebody, you might want to say them while they're still alive.
Yeah, right, Bruce. That's why I told you I love you. I love you too, Andrea. I should also mention that I passed Robert. My husband died a year ago on December 11th. So passing that anniversary for me was tough, and I really felt like I couldn't participate as actively in Bryan's death and memorial. So yeah.
Good. Let's see.
But I'm here listening to everybody and happy to talk about any thoughts we have about our mortality.
Good. And in case
I think there is, for Jim, who is a true salesman at heart as well as a proselytizer, is that this whole notion of having the celebration of life while you're living really is something that could have some legs among pampered generations such as ourselves. And among especially those who are tired of receiving requests for donations and would rather spend it on themselves and their friends.
Okay, please send flowers now.
Right. Join me on a celebration of life as we cruise the Bahamas. This is one for Jim.
That's for Kim Hart too. You've got an annual Bahamas thing. We hope to join you, Kim, someday soon.
You're on mute, Kim.
My turn. Well, I stay young by staying active in business. Also, I was such a wastrel in my youth. I didn't save any money for retirement, so I have to work. So fuck it. Here I keep working. But happy to report that next month we'll cut the on a 52-unit apartment building for affordable housing. So I'm doing that. I'm up to about 800 affordable units built now, so I'm pretty excited about that.
Wow.
And I've got 3 more projects in the pipeline. And on Wednesday night, I was at the Board of Supervisors meeting, and my project came up between 10:15 and 11 o'clock. So the old fart's sitting there at the Board of Supervisors meeting trying to get his friggin' project approved by the Board of Supervisors so we can build 52 more units of affordable housing. So, you know, that's what I do. And I'm here tonight because I do really want to at least participate a little bit in remembering Bryan. And I got my contributions in late to Jim, but you know, I hope that before the meeting, the moment is over tonight, we'll spend a few minutes on Bryan.
Absolutely. And thank you for sending that material. There's a good collection now. Some of us have been calling it the Book of Bryan, and Parker, your idea is ridiculous. The Life of Bryan, really. I mean.
Yeah, we'll get to that later.
All right, welcome, Mike.
There's some stories I didn't write.
Ben, let's see, Ben, thank you for sending that Yale Alumni Magazine alert. Our friend Phil Swatek wrote a letter to the Yale Alumni Magazine about, well, about what? I hesitate. About raising a spirit in the Grove Street Cemetery.
Yeah.
And the reason we brought it up is I'm pretty damn sure his colleague in that enterprise was Bryan.
Right. I was going to say that. I believe that's true.
Yeah. So, and he mentioned a woman who was part of the skullduggery, and I don't know who that was. So
Probably Laura.
Yeah, Bruce?
Probably Laura. I don't think of her last name. Megan, you'll remember her from from the cabin on the Yampa River the next year.
Oh yes, I do remember Laura.
She was a freshman, but when I did not know until I read that blurb about Phil that he dropped out and gone back to graduate some 3 years later, and so I didn't, but I didn't know.
I don't want the name Swatek to go by without remembering Swatek Standby. I don't know if you folks remember that, but this was a scheme that he created.
Go ahead.
Back in the old days, if you looked at the airline chart and
That's right.
It was called Swatek Standby. And what you did was go to the airport and you'd buy a ticket to the short hop of the flight and then just stay on the airplane to wherever you wanted to go. And in those days, they never checked anything on the flight.
Yeah.
And I actually flew back and forth to Montana on Swatek Standby any number of times. And it really worked. But what blew my mind was that Swatek one time was coming back with an entire suitcase full of illicit drugs, and he flew Swatek Standby coming back with the suitcase full of drugs. Really? Wow.
The other wrinkle, do you remember what Swatek's father's job was?
Yep.
Head of the Federal Aviation Administration.
Oh,
while Swatek was doing this.
Oh. Well, I have to tell you another thing about Swatek Standby, and that is that he would feign sleep. And he was one time busted on that. And so his reaction was to feign outrage, demand that he be flown back to where he was supposed to have gone. And they said they can't do that. And
funny, yeah.
Another thing about the illicit drugs in the suitcase. Phil always at that time those gray Samsonite suitcases were, and that's what he used with no ID on it, so that he could claim that it wasn't his. However, one time in LAX, he arrived with his product to take to his high-end rock and roll clients for big bucks, and the suitcase was lost. So what did Phil do? He filed a missing baggage report. The guy was fearless. And they found it. Me, I would have run.
Yeah.
I would have thought they had their hands on it and were just waiting for the guy to show up. But not Phil. He had a brass pair. Well, still does have a brass pair.
Yeah.
Although he's much more sedate now as an older gentleman. I didn't know he had done this podcast or interview. I have to listen to that. But he was a member of the I don't know what that famous flower is that they have in Hawaii. It's an African flower or something that everybody grows in Maui. And so
They're called protea.
yeah, and he was a member of the Growers Association for that, so that he had a cover.
Ah.
And he
Well,
grew a few of them too, but obviously that wasn't his main crop.
I think I let everybody know he's written a book about it, so I already bought it. I'll get it soon. But in addition to the podcast, so I was kind of hoping he would be here from Hawaii, but oddly enough, he lives about 2 miles from one of my high school buddies who had the same freaking career growing
Wow.
up. In fact, he used to sell to Willie Nelson. I have that verified by 2 completely unreliable sources.
So Jim, did your friend wear his knee out?
Oh, I lost. I'm in a
Bryan,
hotel. My Wi-Fi's a little weak. Did he wear
Phil,
what?
Phil did. He carried so much stuff into the backcountry and so much stuff out that he wore his knees out.
Oh,
I think that's what he told me.
My buddy was a pilot, and I think he flew everything around. Anyway, getting back into sequence, ladies and gentlemen, Miriam, Jack.
Right. Jim, where were you in December?
Oh,
tra-
we were on a cruise.
Oh.
We run away from Christmas now, just about every year. Screw the commercialism. Let's get on a cruise ship and spend a bunch of money in the casino. I don't know.
No presents, just the cruise. And they do all the cooking and everything and decorating. So we love it. And we did it with all our kids and Nick's new girlfriend, who also has 2 little girls. So first time on a cruise with like little kids too. And it was great.
Yep, turned out well.
I thought Nick was married.
No, he never had a date before 3 years ago with this woman. He never dated anybody. In fact, he decided he was going to be a multimillionaire, and he just about made it by age 30, and he'll do it. My God, many stories to tell. Now back to Tulsa, Oklahoma, please.
It's cold here.
Oh yeah, it's supposed to get down to 11 tomorrow, 0 a couple of days.
That's
snow.
weird.
Yeah, it's been a warm fall so far. I will.
Yeah, it's
try.
cold here in the desert too. It's
Yeah.
really surprising. Colder than LA.
Yeah,
Wow.
I will.
Oops.
The last we could talk about when we want to talk about that, but Dee expressed an interest in starting to hear some of these stories herself and the recording from last time. So I'm not sure we have to wait until we put together a wonderful, beautiful finished product of anything. But at least Jim and Whiston and whoever else wants to decide, well, let's send her something, and we'll go on with that. But yeah, we
Yes.
don't really want to use the entire recorded sessions of our visits, but there's so many good stories. We do want to. That's what she's asking for. But
That's right.
Marion, is Bogue putting it together in a designy way?
We hope so.
Okay.
Boat's idea was
I'm wondering where to send photographs.
photographs to me.
Okay.
And then I'll collect them and send them. I'll work with John. John wants to do something very short, and I want to get a compendium of everybody's words into the book of Bryan or some dumb shit like that.
Jose.
Hey, Jose, welcome back.
You're muted.
You're muted every time. Unmute.
Miriam,
Okay, how about now?
Miriam, I agree. It's time. We can share last week's session. And the very overwhelmingly urgent thing is right at the beginning, before anybody logged in, there's some wonderful footage of me slicking back my hair with my spit and picking my nose. So I think it's ready to go.
Yeah. Well, we can talk about whether or not to include my description of his last days. So,
Okay, good. I'm looking for somebody who knows how to edit video well, because I don't yet. I may have to learn. Jack, anything? Oh, there's John.
Move along.
Oh, good.
hey, yeah. Good.
Yeah,
I will
welcome,
say,
John.
I really liked what Kim had sent to you. That that little piece about the truck driving truck. Was really nice.
Great work. We got some wordsmiths in this class.
Even though it disparaged Colorado, where most of you have lived.
Are we leaving Tulsa now, guys?
Even though it's not my turn,
Yes.
I'm going to throw out a thought that that some might want to act on. And I remember when Krauser died, the key organizer of the Krauser Memorial in Missoula, I think, was Bryan, or one of the key organizers. And part of it was that he was the guy who was there. And the key host who could put the rest of us on his floor was Rocky. And Rocky's still there. And if the thought is, if you want to organize an event in Missoula, think about it and talk to Rocky.
We will. Rocky's been involved. Oh, go ahead, Mary.
She's gonna organize something. She's thinking mid-March and have a celebration of life there, and she'll keep us posted about that. But yeah, Whiston probably closer to her than Rocky, although Rocky's more visibly closer to her. Whiston, you're on mute.
What a stupid thing.
Is that Mercer?
Okay.
Yes, Mercer. Hi, everyone.
Hey, Mercer.
Oh, welcome.
Over the last 10 days, he's really shaken. He's been in touch with Dee, and he claims that he's allergic to Zoom, and that's his reason for not being here.
Who's this?
Rocky.
Rocky.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But he has been participating in his own way.
Yeah.
Okay. Going around the horn here, it's Dr. Slotsnick in Mount Gretna, Pennsylvania.
Well, since someone said I know something about Zoom, I realized about a month ago that I had incredibly horrible lighting, even though I have had one ring light. I mean, I always look like a ghost. So I bought a second ring light so people can actually see me. And part of this was I realized I was talking to someone. It was a business call, and I realized how horrible I was looking. And this is just a salesperson, but they've got their lighting package set up and they look fine. I mean, the rest of you look fine too, but it's just like I was looking horrible. And so I bought another Chinese light that's on the other side. That's it.
Thanks. Well, I've noticed on many of these Zooms that I look horrible, but it wasn't the light. Okay, moving on to Ben, anything else before we move to Macon?
Yes. Not really, just what I mentioned before. I'm trying to do something with electronics and I don't know anything about it or anyone who does.
Oh, well, my brother He's an electrical engineer, and he had, in case you want your satellite fixed, that's what he did. Tom was civilian leader of the National Reconnaissance Office for a while. He's pretty good with electrical stuff. Every time I call him, he says, hit it really hard.
Is this the one who worked at Langston or the other one?
Yeah, this is Tom, who worked in the CIA and NRO and NSA and all that.
Would he like a very non-intelligence a project which has no redeeming social value, in one sense, particularly to, but it may have redeeming value to televangelists, which he may have an interest in.
That's true. I think we should try it out. He gets he may be tired of stupid questions because I'm his brother, and well, let's see. Making it Boulder. What's up, bud? We haven't seen you in forever.
Yeah, well, I'm going to come around to pick up on what Kim Hart was saying, because I work in an analogous field in the creation of affordable housing. But I was an environmental and civil rights lawyer for a very long time. But when my hearing began to go south on me, I no longer try cases, but now it's like an administrative law judge. I hear cases for the Secretary of State of Colorado on campaign finance violations.
Wow.
But a lot of this is a part-time, it's an on-call position, as we'll probably have a pretty busy 2024. But I was on the city council in Boulder for 8 years, and it made me realize what a critical shortage of housing that we have, especially for young people and people of color in our community. And so, just as Kim is a developer of affordable housing, what I do, I started the Boulder Housing Network 3 years ago, and I've got 1,000 people that I keep informed about when and where they can show up to support housing in Boulder as an antidote to the NIMBY opposition, mostly from people our age who are very liberal on national issues, but just want to keep their neighborhoods locked down. They don't want to be within a mile of an apartment house. And if if it's affordable housing like Kim is building, where, Kim, by the way?
Virginia.
Where?
Sorry, I'm in Loudoun County, Virginia.
In Loudoun County, Virginia, instead of, we provide support for people who are creating housing because it's such a shortage. And it's kind of fun to take a run at people our age who are set in their ways. And I mean, I live in a single-family neighborhood too, but and most of us grew up kind of in a suburban environment. But if we're going to save our planet, we've got to get more dense. We've got to have more density, got to have more walkability and bikeability. And Boulder's only 5 miles in any direction, 5 miles east to west and north to south. So we should really be able to make walkable community throughout Boulder and not just in pockets of it like where I live. So that's what I'm doing.
Thanks. Kim, any response?
Dead on. My quip is everybody loves affordable housing until you try to build something, and then you're just another goddamn developer. And so, every time I do a project, my first stop is all the HOAs in the neighborhood. And everyone I go into, I'm the guy that's going to bring the prostitutes and the drug dealers. And I have to start out by telling them that Cabrini Green was a long time ago. we got the ghost of Cabrini Green still walks the halls of everybody's brain, and we just have to make that go away. And that we haven't built that housing since the 70s, and it's a new day, and get over it and let's move on. And so I really commend Malcolm's effort, because it's real easy for those folks to show up and say, not in my backyard, and that they still do it every hearing I go to. And to have folks that would actually show up to actually say, we need this, those are the folks that are home taking care of their kids, that are working 3 jobs, that don't have time to come to the Board of Supervisors meeting to say, we need this housing. I'm just to tell you, I'm opening 52 units next month. We put up a website. We had 850 inquiries. We handed out 350 applications, and I've already signed up 11 leases and qualified 59 people on the credit check. I am fully leased before I open the door, and I'll turn away 200 people.
With the prerogative of the chair, I want to say I've been watching Kim's work, and you are one of my heroes. The stuff you've done, your group is called Good Works, and you turned around the whole nature of the housing options for people in a whole town. Well done. And just to put icing on that cake, you include apartments in each one for people with disabilities.
Yeah, we have a few apartments in every project set aside for the development of the disabled, and we're working with the state, and we get those units subsidized through state subsidy. So it's really cool. And
I love
as Jim knows, those folks sneak into the development, and everybody loves them. And the last Christmas party I went to, the DJ was one of our folks with developmental disabilities.
Wow.
Well, good work, Kim. Macon, I'd love to see your work. I'm going to come to Colorado as soon as I can. I have some family and memories, and I have a few memories of Boulder. I lived with Howard Everett. We were in the brain research program at CU Boulder. So many memories, and I'll see you there.
Oh, good. I'd love that. That'd be fun, Jim.
Over to Iowa with John. Hi, John.
Hey there. Macon, I'm in Iowa City, Iowa. Have been here for 30 years since we left Missoula.
Look out. Sorry, John. A word. Breaking news. Watch this.
Oh, good.
Okay.
I have been texting Phil. I want you to know.
Oh, way to go.
I told him we were talking about him. Stories were being told.
Brilliant.
John, you're not being afraid. We still love you.
Okay, that's fine. Everybody's really excited to see their dope dealers. So.
Great.
So the most recent news is that Dorothy and I both got COVID on Christmas Eve. We expected that it would be just a mild flu, like all of our friends were reporting. We were really, really sick. There was one day where I couldn't stand up. My legs were too weak, and then when I would stand up, when I finally did make it up, I get horrible vertigo. Wow. So I was really, really sick. But ultimately, we got over that. And then the tsunami about the development of Bryan's heart attack and death hit me. And it has really hit me hard. I think I told Miriam at some point early on that it has shaken my world. And so I'm that's at the back of almost everything I do these days. I am committed to going out to Montana for any celebration in March. But first, we're going to upstate New York. My daughter and her family live in Cornwall, New York, which is near West Point. So we're going to spend the bulk of our time there up in Cornwall, but I think we'll go down to the city at least one day. So I'm gonna be emailing Dee tomorrow, asking for Bill Finnegan's email address so I can connect with him.
Mhm. Well, if you're in New York, we should drop by. Now, oddly enough, we're going to West Virginia, right, Dennis?
Yes. And
Oh, it was Bruce, sorry.
for Macon
I
in
did.
Colorado, my permanent home is in Durango, but I've been living in West Virginia since the end of September because it's lower altitude and I get more oxygen here.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't get enough. So a week from today, I'm heading out on a trip and I'm going to the Gulf Coast where the elevation is very, very low. It's been a pain in the ass, and there's reasons to go home that I'm missing certain things, but it's below zero out there now, and I'm not going. I had a really hard time putting together my Bryan memorabilia stuff, but I successfully sent it off to Jim last night.
Yeah, thanks. Well done.
Julie sent me a big fat package from Durango when she got back from Christmas in Pennsylvania. And I had a hard time going through it all. I have copies of most of Bryan's magazine articles. And the one I focused on is the one I hosted him in Atlanta at my Hewlett-Packard customer support facility. I hosted him to come out there and interview my friends, my colleagues, and he wrote a fantastic article about the place. And so that's I included my memorabilia package. What's going to happen to it, Jim? How long? I see that that Kim sent his stuff out to some other people, so we get a prompt look at it. I only sent mine to Jim, and I assume it'll be a while before it goes out from there, right?
Well, I think you may identify with this when I say, when is the test? But I think seriously within a week, 2 weeks. And then we'll be refining it. But it'll come in pieces, won't it? Parts have to go to D right now. Well, like all the texts that a few of us were sending back and forth, I saved them. And I think she'll want to see that. There's a lot of love in these things. So I really can't predict exactly what will happen, but everything everybody has sent will become part of this one document. And I don't know, I can't answer for everything, but deadlines, Dennis, you bad guy.
I said it. I said it to you last night.
Yeah. No, I mean, telling me I have a deadline. Okay.
Oh. No, you got a lot of work to do. I know that.
Oh, yeah.
I wanted to ask him, you wrote that little piece about riding with Bryan in the truck in October 72?
Yes, sir.
I don't remember that you were out there in Rathdrum, but you must have been.
I was living in Billings and I came through and made a point of stopping to see Bryan and rode on the truck. That was Parsoon's Trucking, which Dennis also drove for, which is why I called it out to Dennis, because he was driving for the same company at roughly the same time. So
I sent a couple pictures in the stuff that went to Jim. There's a couple photographs of the trucking motif. I was there then. Did you see me then?
We were in touch at the same time. It's just I'd never rode in the truck with you. That the story I told was riding in the truck with Bryan, and I thought that was a particular catching up of that part of his life, which I thought was important to give that vignette. How important it was to him at that time, and what it really was like to I mean, he was on the road seeking adventure. I mean, that was his point at the time, and he was doing a darn good job of it. And it really was an adventure. So that's why it was, I didn't have to ride with you, but I did ride with Bryan, and that's what made me want to get that into the history of Bryan.
Well, especially if you were riding on slippery highways over mountain passes, you would have had a much more exciting time riding in the truck that I usually drove, because I had a bashed-in passenger door that wouldn't open. And that really gets people's attention when the roads are slippery, if they're sitting in the right-hand seat.
The thing I did not have a chance to find, because I couldn't find it, was that Parsoon, which eventually became a bumper sticker, which I had for many years, is the quotation, "It ain't the years, it's the miles."
I have one of those somewhere. Yeah.
And that was about trucks, but I think we're all getting closer to understanding what that's all about.
Bryan made bumper sticker out of that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we both worked on that. Yes, indeed.
Welcome, Ed Landler.
Which is worse, Kim? Too many miles or too few miles?
It's the miles, not the years, right? And the problem is too many miles pile up on you.
We just got Ed Landler. Phil, we see you there. Phil, I hope you get Wi-Fi there in the middle of Maui, for God's sake. And welcome. And Dr. Parker, are you in St. Paul?
I have Minneapolis. Yeah.
I never get that right, but shoot.
Yeah, okay. So we had an uneventful Christmas, but Bryan's travels and death hit me like a ton of bricks, because he's the first one of us to die on time. That is close to our expiration date. Pete Steele died, 1,000 years ago. That was a fluke. But Bryan was about the time when our sell-by date shows up, and I looked in the mirror. There's more to that. We're heading out about a week from today to Memphis to look in on one of our classmates who drank too much, fell down, broke his head, and finally, after 3 months, is out of medical care into a new supported living situation. And I got to go see how he's doing. This is a small world. I ran into his doctor in Beinecke Plaza last May. Neither of us was expecting to see the other one there. And we commiserated about that he was drinking too much, and oh dear, what can we do about it? But so Bryan's not the only one. We had a good time. I have stories of Bryan that I didn't think I could put in writing.
Did you say that you cannot put in writing?
Well, who's going to read it? Do you remember, Macon, you were there. You remember Big Smith's visit when Bryan came down the stairs later than everybody else. What did Big Smith say?
I don't remember.
Did you get a good night's sleep? We'll have to think about how to share that story.
Yeah.
Involving Beth.
Thanks.
I just want to make a comment about the sell-by date, and the sell-by date for me felt my dad died when he was 72. My mom much later, but after we passed 72, there was this feeling of being past the sell-by date. There was once a TV show, a guy who before Mission Impossible, but something where someone whose watch seemed to have been broken, time stopped for him. He was supposed to have died somehow, and he just kept having these adventures. But it's just, that's all. It's just a comment about how the barriers between us and the Reaper. There's no one standing between us and the Reaper, if there ever was.
I want to offer a way to think about this from biology and anthropology, because if we go back 10 generations, people lived to about 40, 42, something like that. And so the feedback for what are the genes that survive in our children and grandchildren at that point were how to live till 40. And so all of us are in evolutionary free fall. Think about that.
Good.
And women died in childbirth
Yeah.
much earlier than 40.
From this whole thing hit me hard too, because it's we had classmates who died young, but that's not the same as this, is it?
No.
So over to Rancho Mirage. I am talking to you from Rancho Cordova in Northern California. Rancho Mirage, Mike Lawler, welcome.
Hello, hello. First of all, Macon, it's good to see you. I haven't seen you in a jillion years, and nice to see you.
Back
and I
at
hope
you, Mike.
I'm unmuted, right? You hear me, right? Good.
Yes.
And to Phil Swatek, I hope you're there. All we have is your name on a black screen, so
I'm
good to hear
texting.
from you.
I'm texting back and forth with Phil, so I'll just let you know he's in and out on a computer. First of all, they have really shitty connection to civilization where he's at Mount Haleakala.
Right.
They've had strictly dial-up at his house. And the second thing is
What's that?
Yo!
Right. The second thing, his equipment's a little compromised. He must be using his wife's computer because Phil has a flip phone. And
yeah, I was going to say, I'm quite surprised to even see his name here, because Phil is notoriously against all this modernity, and I think that's a good thing. Actually, I had the great fortune of visiting him a few years back when we finally made it to Hawaii, and thank God we got to see Maui before it got toasted. What an amazing town that is, and it's so sad that got destroyed. I mean, it's really quite unfortunate. There was a poster store there in Maui that had a copy of one of my dad's posters, which is of course flying to Hawaii. My dad did posters for Pan Am in the 30s and 40s, and one of them was flying to Hawaii, and they're quite collectible. And there was one in the store underneath Mick Fleetwood's bar, all of which are now completely gone. It's kind of sad. So anyway, I hope you're hearing me, Phil. It's good to see you.
Mike, he told me how much he appreciated your reaching out to him after the fire.
Oh, good. Well, yeah, I was curious about that, because obviously I know they had fires up in his neck of the woods too, although it looked on the map as if he was probably okay, and I guess he was, which is great. Yeah. Here in Rancho Mirage in the Coachella Valley, in the desert, it's cold as hell. I find it's quite remarkable. Well, not as hell, not to people that live in real cold country, but for here, it's down in the 30s at night, and which is, I find, of course, that there's a greater temperature range here than there is in Los Angeles, and it's quite nice to have a fireplace, and we enjoy that often. By the way, anybody ever finds themselves in this neck of the woods, please get in touch. We have a guest room, we have a hot tub, we have all sorts of amenities, and it'd be great to see anybody that ever finds their way to the Palm Springs area. So anyway, yeah, this thing with Bryan, I'm kind of, but the rest of us are, this is a problem that we've set a high bar for remembrance, so the rest of us are going to get less and less and less, and you know, who's going to be the most lauded in their passing? By definition, there'll be fewer to do it, and
Oh, gee.
I thought about that today, and I thought, who are going to be the last three that get on the Zoom call and say, "Boy, are they a bunch of assholes?" Right?
yeah, I remember reading one of the class of whatever in the far back of the alumni mag. Is I always used to think about that. You know how you keep moving toward the back of the alumni mag, and then this one guy says, "Well, like I'm almost the only one left on the other side of the grass. Please write." So that always kind of bothered me. But anyway, I do have one practical question, which is that most of my Bryan memorabilia was photographs, and I assume that those were all the ones that you guys have sent those to Jim, and the ones that I sent, and you got most of them. They're not any great works of art or anything, but they are all I have, other than an article in the New Journal, which I mentioned in an email, and I hope somebody has a copy. I know I do, but I can't put my hands on it. That when the roller derby came to New Haven, Bryan wrote a great piece on it, and it appeared in the New Journal, and I had a few photographs in it, but the main thing, of course, is Bryan's coverage of the whole thing, and it was really great. And if anybody can find a copy of that, that would be a great thing to add. Other than that, things are pretty normal, you know. Can't complain. No organ recitals to give to anybody, and so you know, I'm looking to be the last square in this bunch, but who knows?
I'm talking to Ed Landler, who can't unmute and get his camera going. But thanks, Mike. We were glad to see you and get a balloon ride out at Rancho Mirage a couple of months ago.
Yeah, how was that? We are living here and haven't even done that. Should we go out to Indio and do it?
It was really, we really loved it because it was freaking fascinating. You know, you sons of bitches have 53 golf courses in one little valley. There might be over 100. I can't believe that place. It's like decadence. It's Rome right at the end. It drove us crazy, and it was incredibly beautiful.
I do believe there's more golf courses per capita here than anywhere in the world.
That's right.
And it's kind of sad. I don't play golf, and
yeah,
can't take advantage of that. I do a little bit of duffing, you know, here and there, but after I had my back surgery, my back surgeon thought that if I weren't really good, that is to say that I had a sweet swing, as he put it, it probably wouldn't be the best idea. I'll probably leave that alone.
Well, speaking of golf courses, Jose, Orlando. Hello, good evening. Happy New Year.
How are you? Happy to see you all. Kim, I don't think I've ever met you or Macon. I'm actually the odd man here because I wasn't in Silliman, I was in TD, but Jim and I connected and he invited me to be a member of this august group, which I have enjoyed tremendously. And I've gotten a chance to see a couple of you down here in Orlando. I just want to say I think that what is happening here is what we would call a mitzvah, and that we're doing a wonderful thing and remembering a great friend and a good man, and may he live forever in our memories, as we've all been saying. I didn't get a chance to know Bryan very well, but he certainly was a remarkable man. And it was certainly an honor and a privilege to get to know him.
Same for us.
Wonderful to see you all. Mike, it's curious that you made the comments you made, because we are the product of tremendous advances in medicine and nutrition, and our bodies are lasting longer, and not just longer, but better. I don't know where it will all end. I hope that our lives will continue to be full, and that we're not like Jonathan Swift's people in the island of the people who never died. If you remember, if any of you ever read that, they were very miserable people. So I hope that doesn't happen to us. I hope that we can connect with each other and laugh and cry and have a wonderful connection, which is what makes it all worthwhile. It isn't the money or what you acquire. It's really the people, your friends, and your family. It's certainly wonderful to see you all. I continue to work. I love what I do, and fortunately, I am in good health at this point, even after cardiac surgery. So I'm having a good time. I have a couple of publications I'm working on. Hopefully I'll get to finish that. And what I'm actually machinating right now is how to fill up some of the extra time that I have, with either a project or perhaps a trip similar to the one that Jim made around. I just think that life is a great gift, and we need to relish every day. And if any of you ever happen to be in the Orlando area, please reach out. My name and my email and phone are all available. And if not, ask Jim. He's the central core. He's the great mover, So it's wonderful to see you. You look good. John, what is that?
That's great, John. Terrific.
Jose, I'd just like, may I say that Room Raider is going to give you a high score for flashing that Yale ring as you.
Oh, is that right?
That is
I never took it off. It sort of grew attached to it, and it's interesting because if I run into Yaleys, they notice it. I just liked it. I wear two rings, that one and of course my wedding ring.
Did you buy that as a freshman? Some upperclassman came and sold it to you?
Yep, an upperclassman sold it to me. And I figured, well, why not? I'm here. I'll go for it. At the time, it was a lot of money for me because I was dirt poor, and I only attended Yale because they gave me a full scholarship. Otherwise, I couldn't have done anything. But I figured this was something I could splurge on. And it's interesting because I have a Yale ring, but I don't have a medical school ring. It's nothing against Harvard Medical School, which is where I went. It's just that my heart is still with Yale.
Oh,
you know,
that's
and they weren't able to convert me, and they plied me with you know, all kinds of you know, drinks and whatnot. Not didn't work, you know.
Good.
So anyway, it's great to see you all, and you know, God willing, we'll see each other in person soon, and and you know, Jim, thank you very much for letting me be a part of this group. It's
Thank-
been a privilege.
wonderful. Thank you, Jose. And before we go on, I have to say, listen, you mofos, I work for Ben Slotsnik. This whole thing was his idea.
I just have to add one thing that that Jose's comments about life expectancy put me in mind of, and that is I am continually in awe of the ancients and what they accomplished with you know, living short lives, building these amazing things without, you know, hydraulics, diesel, and all that stuff, you know, just, and then, you know, crapping out at 45 or 50 or whatever. Amazing stuff. So, you know, I wonder if we're up to that standard. I don't even know. Maybe we have more time to fill it. I don't know.
Well, I
So
share
there
that
was
amazement with you.
slavery.
I met the head of the Yale Club of Philadelphia is an anthropologist, and he works at the Penn Museum. And he got me into this, like Göbekli Tepe in Turkey and the ancient civilizations, the end of the Ice Age, 12,000 years old. We don't know anything. Everything we were taught about the humans coming to North America is all being revised too. It's great stuff. I love learning new stuff because I figure if I learn a whole lot right now, it's going to make me a much better dead person. We're moving to who's up? What?
Oak.
Yeah, we're going to Denver. Hi,
Bogue. Time for
John
Bogue.
Bogue. Welcome aboard, John. John,
Unmute.
what's going on? Yeah, unmute and don't say anything. That'll really fuck us up.
And so, right,
There you go.
I just had this note I put up for Phil Swadek.
Yeah, show it again. Yeah. Maui no Kaui.
Closer.
Maui no Ka'oi.
Oh,
Maui is the best. More
Maui
that
no
M,
Ka'oi.
that M is illegible.
That was great.
Make it a little better. Well,
It's
yeah,
Phil, was it?
that was my greatest contact with Bryan. Living in Wailuku and getting out on the Ilani Highway in Kip's Volkswagen until Bryan got his act together and bought the Rhino Chaser, and we would go up to West Maui, right through Lahaina, and look for waves and hang out on the beach and paddle out and so forth. And they went surfing, and I just went coral diving, coral biting. Here's Philip.
Give us dates, John, that you were in Maui, on Maui.
Got there in the fall of 70. Yeah, I think it was in, you know, like late October or something. I'd been painting houses, and I went up, I packed a bag. My mother wanted to know what was up, and I said, I'm moving to Maui, and she said, what is that? There was more conversation, but I won't bore you. And I just went out and hitchhiked up to Newark Airport and walked up to the ticket counter and said, I'd like to buy a ticket to Wailuku, Maui. They said, okay. I said, you know, and when do you want to return? And I said, I don't really know. So just, you know, get me there. I moved there and I think I'm probably left in February, maybe. at that point, it was really nice living there. But I was running out of money and I tried to get a few jobs and that failed. It was shortly after that that Bryan met Finnegan. Now, I don't remember whether he knew him before that, but after I'd gone, he met him. And Bryan left not too much longer after that. And he either gave the Rhino Chaser to Mr. Finnegan, or he sold it for some trivial amount. I don't remember. I read the book. Has anybody here read the book?
Yeah.
Barbarian Days? Raise your hands, those who've read it. 1, 2, 3, 4 with me. Well, you should definitely read it.
I will.
One of my favorite part, they wander the Pacific and they do things like they go to a place where there's rumored a really great wave, and they find out that it's like 2 islands away. So they use fishing boats to get dropped off at an uninhabited island with a promise that the fishermen will supposedly come back and pick them up. And then they surf for a couple of days there, the 2 of them by themselves, no other human beings anywhere nearby. And the guy did come back, so the story went on. It's the other most fascinating story, and it is about that is worth reading because in the details, is they ended up in East Australia, and when they were there, they took to writing a column in the local free newspaper, and they were encouraged to write I think they were encouraged to write a newspaper that a column that would have attitude, and they complied. And they thought, shit, we're going to be fired within a couple of issues here. This can't possibly go on, because they were outsiders to a closed community or a small community, and they were dissing it right and left, and because it was humor, right? So you disrespect people, right? Anyway, so they got more and more and more popular. It just like it was a big hit. And that would be an interesting thing to pursue. I guess I should write to Finnegan and see if he's got anything of those columns. I've always wanted to read them, and I've never made the effort to do it.
Would you say the name of that book again?
Barbarian Days. And when you see it, there it is. That's Bryan right underneath the letter A. And he does look like, we've been seeing all these photos come into the archive, and
Pulitzer Prize 2015.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's really a good book.
It's thrilling. It's a great read. Great read.
So, one of my favorite memories of Maui was Thanksgiving Day. So we got into whatever car we had. I don't remember when we got the Rhino Chaser, and went back up to West Maui. And there is a bunch of points that come out, ridges that run down to the sea, and they become flat by the time they get to the sea, but they have nice cliff walls. And currently, you can't even go to this particular point because, it's part of that big development up there in Kaanapali. And but we knew of a secret spot there, and we had all of our friends come with their fixings. And you walk out onto this, fairly green peninsula going out into the ocean. And on the south face of it, there was this beautiful bubble in the lava. It was a really big bubble. It was probably 30 feet long and about 20 feet high, with a flat floor that was made out of millions and millions and millions of tiny shells. And we spread out our food and had Thanksgiving there. It was a wonderful event.
Good memory. If you're ready, we'll move to Are You in Manhattan? Mercer.
Oh, hi, I'm here. You want Mercer?
Yeah.
I want Mercer. Send him in.
All right, here's me. And so I'm the pesky hanger-on from the class of 71 who discovered marijuana smoking late in the game. And then I tell people I spent 2 years at life as a preppy in singing groups, and then 2 years of life as a hippie hanging out with these reprobate characters from Silman College. But I mean, Bryan, I mean, he was the coolest guy. Anybody, I mean, he was just coolest guy. I mean, right? And I was in awe of him. And I was like, I would start to speak to him, and he was like, "Who are you?" And then he realized that I had read my Kerouac, not just on the road, mind you, but the Dharma Bums and Desolation Angels. And he said, "Oh, Mercer, he's an interesting," and he kind of took me on as somebody who would pay attention to. You know how he was. What was the word that was used last time, Jim? Curmudgeonly. You know, he's And then after Yale, I moved to New York, and I moved to the Upper West Side into this apartment where I live right here, right now, where Bill Finnegan lived for 18 years upstairs from me. And so my connection to Bryan was like, I didn't hang out with Bill a lot. I mean, sometimes I would come down. I'm going to work at Rutgers University, and there's Bill down in the lobby of my building. It's March. He's got 2 surfboards and a wetsuit, and it's 40 degrees out in the Rockaways off the, New York City actually has surfing. And he says, like, "Don't worry about me, I'm crazy." I said, "Oh, okay," so. And so I kind of kept up with Bryan through Bill for a number of years. And as I wrote in an email, my wife Ellen died on December 28th of 2023, and Bryan had his heart attack exactly a year later. I'm sorry, 2020. I'm sorry. Bryan's heart attack was a year after Ellen's demise. And, so I've been going through a lot of stuff around all of that, and just before I know Macon is gone, but just Kim, are you still here?
Yep.
So I spent 5 years studying affordable housing with.
It works. Excuse me.
Yeah. Hey, Ed. Yeah.
Forgive me. I just reinstalled.
And Ed and I hung out for about an hour or so last night and probably smoked too much dope.
No, I haven't smoked dope at all today.
Well, I did.
Oh, good.
Well done.
Shut up.
So, and I just wanted, when Kim was flashing the ring, I have a Yale ring, and I went in, I couldn't find it, but I found this. And this is like, wait a minute. Yeah.
What?
This I learned from you folks in the class of 70. I was an aspiring Presbyterian minister from Georgia when I came to jail. After 2 years, I was indulging in this. This is my remaining acid stash.
That'll do it.
We got 1 blue thing and 2 blotters, And Jim Conroy, you circulated some of Bryan's writing from a psilocybin trip.
Yes.
Right? So I had a question for you, and I wish Swatek was here because it might have come from here. But were those the white capsules?
No.
These were synthesized up on Science Hill by some grad students. They were trying to make psilocybin, although I continue to suspect.
But you never know what you were getting in those days.
Correct.
But the stuff that was presented to me as psilocybin those were the best ones. And since Ellen's death, I'm doing shrink stuff, and I'm talking to, and it's like there's a big resurgence, of psychedelics, and I'm interested. I got to get somebody to take care of me, and I still live here with my daughter Laura, who's 43 and has Down syndrome, and I take care of her and all of that. So, but people are taking care of me, and my younger daughter Meg. But the big news in my life is I am going. Jose, are you here?
I'm here.
I'm going to Cuba day after tomorrow. I'm going to Cuba to play Cuban music with Cuban musicians with a group of about 15, advanced jazz, not professional, but serious musicians from here in New York on the Upper West Side. So, yeah, I'm hanging in there. Yeah, I'm missing Ellen real bad, but I'm going to Cuba. I got a social work firm taking care of Laura. This is big news. So that,
wow.
Oh, I love that. Oh, I love that. Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
But ever since Laura was born with Down syndrome, I go, what am I going to do when I die? Does my younger daughter have to take care of her? But we have this social work thing here, and they're like on top of it. And there's actually a way, if you have a certain amount of means, that Medicare will take care of Laura in her own home where she's lived for her whole life after I'm gone, which is a great balm to my peace of mind. So I've been really boning up on Cuban music. I can't tell you all this, but anyway, that's my short story, and I'm sticking to it.
Great catch up.
I just love seeing you guys. It's beautiful.
Thanks. Great catch up, and good luck in Cuba. John showed a license plate. I think inquiring minds want to know, what the fuck is that? What is that thing? That license plate, John?
Unmute.
You have to unmute yourself to.
People know that I collect license plates, so what's really interesting, if you look closely at the fabrication of this, you will notice the funny texture.
Oh yeah.
That's because this is not a license plate that was issued by some government or public sector. This is a tourist license plate, which is a big deal there. They make a lot of them. I have a few. People at Yale know this, so Bob Bonds of YAA has given me some, and this is for Deb Rose. I don't know if anybody knows who Deb Rose is, but anyway. And there's Bruce Parker's got them too. These are tourist products, and they're charming. They're made by pounding them on thin metal.
Neat.
John, is that the one I sent you?
No, this is Deb Rose sent this to me.
Okay.
She's class of, I think, 71 or 2. Yale medal winner, kind of a force of nature in her own way. And I worked with her doing these. It started with YASC, Yale Alumni Service Corps, but this mission was to Ghana, and we built a building that she paid for, and put a computer lab, a library, a home ec lab, and meeting room in this building. We've now completed, after Yale, we went on our own and made a little foundation. And we've now put in, I think, 12 computer labs in Ghana, all of them in small towns with people with populations of like 5,000 or so.
Good works.
So that's the heritage of this plate.
Thanks for that memory, John. And we're going to move now to our IT guy in Los Angeles, who single-handedly revised his own computer and finally got on the Zoom. Hey, Ed.
Well, I actually totally reinstalled Zoom.
That's it.
Because a similar thing happened earlier this week. and it had seemed to have something to do with artificial intelligence that was recording the session, and
have that.
and I couldn't. That didn't show my picture, and I couldn't talk, and so I hate. So I hit a cancel artificial intelligence, and I came on, but they were pissed at me because now artificial intelligence wasn't keeping the recording of the Zoom. So I totally reinstalled my Zoom now, and it worked.
Good. Welcome. What's new?
I actually have a lawyer to deal with the guy with my property stuff, and actually I'm moving forward in every direction. It's just step by step, and you don't want to, and some of these things, the Watts stuff, and how the guy building the house below my property, like my fence fell in on him. All this stuff. You don't have to. I talk too much. I'm through. But I'm okay. How about I leave it?
We had a few memories, and we're gonna have a lot more about Bryan. If you any comment about Bryan, go ahead, and then we'll just open the floor.
Well, I hope. Well, I'm sure at some point you will share what I sent, that review of the John Montgomery Ward book.
Do you have that handy? The first two sentences? Oh, it's the most flattering thing I've ever seen for an author. So I'll make sure.
I just remember that Ian Fraser, who is I'm familiar with the name. He's a very fine writer. It's from an original review of the book. And it was on. I found it on Amazon, to buy the book, and this wonderful line. Bryan de Salvatore is one of the best nonfiction writers working today. Something like if not that, that's what he said, but it's close.
Thanks for.
And it was so wonderful to see that, and I'm looking forward to the next step of the process.
Great, thanks. We'll now, as we go through this thing in sequence, and everybody's very polite, but now open floor. We officially we have 6 minutes left, but anybody wants to say anything, go shoot.
Well, hey, I have to go, but I have I wanted to say, I wanted to remind Ed to remind Steve to talk about, ask about dates toward the end of the month. And that's not got anything to do with the rest of you guys, but since I have Ed on the phone here, I thought I would.
Well, I will be seeing the other gentleman this evening, so yeah, okay.
Well, all right.
Now, how come, Mike, you're in the corner? It looks like you are muted, and I can hear you. Can everybody?
Well, I am muted unless I press the space bar, in which so I can fart and cough and stuff, and you guys don't get to hear it.
Because I tried doing that back. That told me to do that, and I hit the space bar, and nothing happened. I was still muted.
Yeah, reinstall was the right thing to do.
Well, I did the whole reinstall.
Everybody, this session was recorded. I don't know what we'll ever do with it, but I'll share it with everybody, and you can decide if you want anything changed. But
no, I just want to share the profits. That's all.
Yeah, and I wanted to say I waited till the end to say that I remember Bryan's last words to us on his last Zoom.
Yes,
and it just struck me like a ton of bricks, and it's beautiful and painful and wonderful and strange. It was something on the order that Jack Burke noticed as much as I did, and I don't know if other folks noticed it, but he was saying, we're old, get over it. And he kind of got off the call early. That really touches me, and I'll never forget it.
Well, as I mentioned last week in the Zoom, I felt like, Bryan and I had been having intermittent and not so much conversations as he insisted on writing letters and sending them, and rather than emails and stuff, which I think is wonderful. But I really felt that, in terms of the work he was doing and the kinds of differences we had in approach, we actually spoke directly to those issues, he and I, in that last Zoom together. And I may have mentioned it last week, but I'm grateful that you were all there to hear that interchange, whether you understood it or not. But I think he and I both did, and that means a lot.
Well, so far so good. As the man said, well, on the 7th floor, falling off a 14th floor building. So far so good.
No. Meryl, did you have something more you want?
No, I just don't know if everybody knew that, God, was it last year or 2 years ago? Bryan and I collaborated on, I wanted to print I had been reading some of his writing, and sections of it were very poetic. And I'd been working with a friend, the master printer, doing letterpress. And I thought, whoa, this would be a great project. So he and I talked about it, and I selected some text of his and made 2 different prints. And I think I can't remember the number that I printed, but I'd like to be able to send them to everybody in this group, so that you each have a print of his written words. There are 2 versions. One is, and I tried to photograph them. Obviously, Dee has the 2 prints, so I don't know how important it is to have photographs of these prints in the life of Bryan. But one is long, and I used the tiniest letters you could possibly have in letterpress. And I just printed a long, thin line of his text. And the whole idea was that if it was framed and hung on a wall in someone's house, and anyone noticed it, they'd say, what the hell is that? And have to walk to it and get close to it and read the words. And the other one is a very poetic description that I put into a stanza form of his description of an ecstatic moment in the water. And so I got that, and then I put just a little brush mark of blue watercolor down at the bottom. So I got the photographs. John, I was going to have Jim send the photographs that I took. I didn't have the proper lighting in my studio, and I was just using my iPhone, but I tried to noodle with them on Photoshop, and I'm going to send just a package of them, and you can look at the horrible, crappy, dark originals, because you can probably do a better job of, brightening them and making the contrast better, if you want to include them in the book.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, so I'll send them, and then I'm going to make packages to send. Do I have mailing addresses for all of you?
Ooh.
For the people who were closest.
I guess
post office addresses.
We should do that.
Yeah, so I collect mailing addresses.
I will email you if you don't have it. And I have a question from what you're saying. I just realized, I've been reading, I've kept all those letters, and there are quite a few. I don't know if you noticed last week, but I had a lot of pages. Would you like me to select? And I will just go to the most most coherent, cogent, powerful, but certainly won't be more than a half page, I would hope. Would you like me to put such a sheet of Bryan quotes from my letters from him?
Of course, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. I will. It will take me a while because I'm really busy. But yeah, when do you need all this, Jim? By?
Yeah, Dennis is giving me a deadline. I don't know, a week or two.
Okay, within the next couple of weeks, I can do that.
Now that we've reached 9 o'clock, that's 90 minutes. John Bogue, one more. Go.
I heard the word book. I haven't heard what is gonna, are we gonna make something, and I'll get to that. But Merrill, have a really fancy scanner, so I can do anything. Even if it doesn't fit on the scanner, I can do it.
Okay, well, why don't I just send you the prints themselves?
Yeah.
And then you can, and it'll be, yeah, because that's the way to do it. My
Yeah.
photograph.
Letterpress has
Okay.
dimension, so it's nice to be subtle.
And John, we're
Yeah.
still noodling around with what's going to be a book, what's going to be a 2-pager, and I want to talk to you, so I'm just going to call him, and we'll
Okay.
keep brainstorming.
Right.
But
Meanwhile,
John, if you or Linda could just email me, I think Linda has my email,
Mhm.
or text me your mailing address.
Yeah, okay.
Or you can,
and
I think
I'm
I
gonna
have
take
your
the
information. Where is?
she and I have been in contact, Miriam and she and I. Not for a while.
Send it to you, Mara. I'll just send you his
Okay.
contact.
yeah, and I'll try to
Okay, so just
combine
text
all of
to
them.
me.
I might ask John to reflect briefly. Here, somehow you guys got access to a printing press, and you produced a lot of good stuff. I have several of those prints, the Tree Frog Breer print, the and a couple of prints I have, which I'll dig around and find, were some of the poetry from Bryan. And one of my favorites I remember is a poem. He was thinking about the days of the week and how the relative days of the week were, how they felt and what they were all about. And I have that print, which is something like Tuesday less Thursday is Saturday. I remember you guys having some fun. Can you recall what that was all? I never knew it. I just saw some of the stuff. What was that all about?
Yeah, I don't remember that directly, but I have a lot of stuff too, and just talking about it makes me remember. I have a spiral poem he wrote in one of my notebooks, which was, it was a spiral. It said, "Life starts on the inside and works out."
Oh, and I just realized, I see before me, I'm looking at our whole gallery, all 12 of us here. 4 of us are here who are all part, and I assume someone has this picture. I mean, I certainly have it on my wall here. You know what I'm talking about? Bruce and Kim and Mike?
Yeah, I sent it. I sent it. I sent it this
Guys in the
afternoon.
woods.
I sent
Oh,
it this
okay.
afternoon.
I have that. The guys in the woods.
Okay, yeah.
And I'm lining up to print a shirt, but I'm at N-1 now because Bryan doesn't need the one he asked for. But, and I haven't asked everybody, but it's not a big deal to print extra shirts. That picture, which I have used at one occasion, I used it as printed up a sort of an ersatz Christmas card years ago. People were very taken by that. Well, it's a great picture, and I'm grateful to be part of it.
Yeah,
I have some outtakes of that, and
I have one of those.
I also recall, Kim, that Virginia snapped a picture.
Huh.
I always thought it was Rossback, but it was actually Virginia? Really? Okay.
You was out in the woods with us that day?
But Mike, was it your setup? Did you set it up?
Yeah, it was my photo class assignment for self-portrait.
Wow.
And God knows, I don't think it was a very accurate self-portrait, but it was a fun picture.
Yes.
It
So
was
that was your-
iconic. I thought I had multiple versions, and then I realized, oh, that slipped through my fingers. There's got to be a good quality reproduction of that. It's like
Well, I have
iconic.
two large. I have that one as well as a second picture where we were. It was with a different background, but in the same. Was it Edgware Park? Was that what park was it?
Everybody else remembers New Haven much better than I do. It was somewhere accessible to us in the New Haven area, but I
Nearby, and it was
couldn't
really
possibly
woodsy.
tell you where.
It was Edgewood Park, pretty much due north. One of the painting groups I was involved with that summer painted a house later that overlooked that park.
Oh, and Mike, a question to you, very quick, and having nothing to do with this, but which week were you proposing for? Was it? What happened? Oh, there we are.
Yeah.
But Mike, was it?
Oh, yeah. That's not the classic. That's a separate one.
That's a separate one. Yeah.
Interesting.
But Mike, when are you going to be in town for me to talk to the guys about it? Last week of January or the week before? Are we talking like 25th, 24th or 25th or the 31st?
24th, I'm going to be there, and I'm 24th, and I'm hoping that maybe that's a possible date. Otherwise, conceivably the 25th, but.
Okay, probably, I'll just say for now, forgive us, gentlemen and ladies. I would say for now, probably Thursday will be easier, but I'll see what the folks say.
Right, Thursday's harder for me, but it's a possibility.
Okay.
But Wednesday's a definite. All right, I have to go, guys. Great talking to you all. And hey, before I go, Jim, how do you do that? I've been trying to put a picture up, and I can't figure out how to make it happen.
Great. At the bottom middle of the Zoom screen is on my screen, a green spot that says share screen.
Right.
And my settings, my Zoom settings.
And if I see that, but every time I click on it, I get, I have a picture that I wanted to put up, and then it tells me to go to settings, and the settings are all grayed out, and I can't make it happen.
Oh boy, we better work on that because my
No,
settings will allow any of us
Call him
anytime.
co-host.
Sorry, who? What?
You can call him a co-host.
Oh, I don't need to do that. My Zoom settings are set up so that any of us can share any picture anytime. So I'll work
great.
on that with you, Mike. I can't understand why.
Yeah, I don't know. I gave up. I gave up trying, but I had a couple of pictures of Cuba I wanted to put up when Jose was talking about that. But anyway,
Let's
I have
work
to
that
go.
out. Okay. Everybody, this has been great.
Awfully nice seeing you. We'll do it again. And remember, doors always open. Hope to see you guys.
Adios, amigos.
Yep.
Peace
Bye.
out.
Yeah, we have
Hasta
other
la
problems to
vista.
mow, or hose to plow. We'll see you later, gentlemen and ladies.
All right, tales to
Especially
be
ladies and
told.
gentlemen.
Great 5 decades plus. Well done all.
I still look up to you, Jim.
Damn, yeah. Well, I look up to John Whiston, so
Yeah.
good night.
Hasta la vista. I will see you all.
I hope soon. Night, Ben.
Good night.